they training me to be a dog?
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Sunday, November 10th, 2019. This is your award-winning Gitmo Nation Media Assassination episode 1189.
This is No Agenda.
Welcoming our new neighbors and broadcasting live from Opportunity Zone 33 here at the frontier of Austin, Texas, capital of the Drone Star State. In the morning, everybody, I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where I've noticed that Woody Allen's finally been canceled by cancel culture. Good for them. I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
Wait a minute, Woody Allen wasn't already super canceled?
No.
Huh?
He's canceled now.
What happened?
I mean, his new movie, A Rainy Day in New York, will not get released in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually been released in Europe to good reviews.
Yeah.
Amazon will not bring it out in the United States. They won't stream it. He's got the autobiography of Woody Allen, which has to be a fascinating book.
Yeah, no, denied.
The big four publishers, none of them will touch it.
Did he do that himself?
He's a writer, yeah.
But he did the film about his life, or is it just a written
book?
Oh, well, shit! No Agenda Press should release that.
I'm sure.
Exit strategy, baby.
That's the bottom of the barrel for him.
Hey, we have new neighbors. 5 minutes from the Crackpot home here, Crackpot and the Keeper. Yes, yeah. We didn't have time to talk about it because it happened on. I think it happened on Thursday. Here's report number 1.
Yeah, the cleanup got underway just about an hour ago. We were able to capture some video for you, so let's go ahead and play it and show you what we saw. We saw text-out crews out and about, escorted by state police, cleaning up the trash out here using leaf blowers and a street sweeper. Now, the second part, we believe, will be to pack up the folks living here as the state steps in and frustration mounts over how the city is handling this crisis. Governor Greg Abbott warning city leaders to straighten things up, but now he's just stepping in. This morning, text-out crews will clear away the homeless encampments across town. There are a lot of them. The governor says he will not allow Austin to turn into cities like San Francisco or L.A. Now, one man who I talked to who's been living under the same overpass, get this, for 3 years, he told me, you know what? I'm just going to move to another spot because Austin is too good to give up.
People come from all over the country to come to Austin because it's famous. This is a famous place to live on the streets. Everybody knows, man, you want to live on the streets, go to Austin.
Why?
You don't even have to buy food. Everybody feeds you. They give you money. You can party. It's a blast, man.
It's a blast, man. Austin's the place to be, baby. I love that they put that in that report for a mainstream report. That was fantastic. So
that was actually surprising.
Abbott came through, and he opened up a 5-acre site, southeast Austin. And I have that report as well. Yeah, John, it's 5 minutes from here. I mean, it's not really walkable, but if I jumped in the car, 5 minutes. And I got to tell you right off the bat, I'm super happy. This is a great spot for them to be, and they're already halfway to Mobile Loaves and Fishes Community First Village. And the way it's set up with transportation and everything, this might actually work.
It's been 2 days since the state opened up a designated camping area for the homeless. It's a temporary spot, about 7 acres in size, not far from the Austin airport. KVU's Darrenisha Heron is there and says people are starting to move in now. Darrenisha?
TxDOT just got here. They arrived not too long ago. They are putting up lights for better visibility. And as for the homeless, I have not seen many, but the ones I did talk to, they've already picked their spots.
It's like perfect. And then we got here, it wasn't anyone here but 2 guys.
Michael Johnson and his friend Jose rode 13 miles on their bikes to find a safer place to call home.
Wow, we don't have to talk to anyone to be here or, sign up.
The state designated this area off of 183 near Montopolis as a temporary homeless camp, equipped with portable restrooms and hand washing stations.
Well, we thought wow, we got bikes that can handle the terrain. As long as it's not on the freeway, we should be able to get there.
But there are questions about how other homeless will be able to get to this camp several miles from downtown. Cap Metro said Friday they will get the homeless to the campsite, but they are waiting for more guidance from the state on how exactly they can help. But for Michael and Jose,
we want to kind of let people know, where it says all of this with the graffiti, if you can see it, Like, this is where I want to be.
They are in good spirits now that they are here.
The only thing I was really concerned with is, like, will there be electricity if we're way out here? So we just said, okay, but we have a plan for that too.
What's your plan?
Generators.
The governor's office says troopers will be patrolling the area 24 hours a day. DPS says they will be taking a head count to find out how many people are in and out of this campsite. They say they are also in talks with organizations to find out when they will be bringing food here. And as for transportation, Cap Metro says they are waiting to hear back from the governor's office on when and where they can pick people up.
So these reports all sound, sound pretty positive and optimistic. The people they selected at least sound very positive and optimistic. And I will do a boots on the ground report. I'm going to go out there, not today, but I'm going to go out there this week, see what's going on, talk to some people. You know, the main
recorder.
Yes, the main thing. The super liberals of Austin are like, well, he shipped them 5 miles. It's 12 miles from downtown, and they have to bus in.
What are they going to downtown for?
Well, that apparently is where all the money is. But I'm thinking the people of Austin sit in traffic for an hour to get downtown who have jobs and homes and pay taxes. So shut up already. These guys are actually getting a better deal on the transportation, dedicated bus service. But I'm all for it. I think this is a great development.
I'm glad you like it. I think it's the beginning of the end for the idea that we don't have shanty towns in this country.
Oh, it's going to be a shanty town. It's going to be a shanty town. Sure. And just for context, Montopolis is my exit off of 183.
So if you turn right, you go to your house. Turn left, you get there.
No, you get off at Montopolis, you're there, and then you drive, 5 minutes further, and you're at my place.
So to get to your house from the airport, now you have to go through a homeless encampment?
No, you don't have to go through it. No. I don't. No. We looked last night, and Tina picked me up. I got in late. Oh man, I had a trip from hell, John.
Yes, let's skip the rest of the homeless story, which we can talk about for endless
Screw
hours.
The homeless.
And by the way, congratulations to the Republican governor. But let's
yes, indeed.
Tell the story.
All right. Well, you have to understand when traveling while doing the show, the most complicated window is between Thursday and the second Thursday show, also known as Sunday. Because the show on Thursday ends at, we don't hang up until 10:30 p.m., my time there. And then I, still have some cleanup to do, and then it's 11, and then I need to eat something, got to unwind. So, really not in bed until midnight. And it'd be nonstop this whole week. So I knew I would have limited prep opportunities because Friday I had, 2 more appointments. And then but I was going to have a short dinner with a buddy of mine who used to be a mainstream talk show guy in Holland, Robert Jensen. And he, under my encouragement, went total, value for value podcast. And he also has an interesting video version of it. And he's a wine nut. I mean, like, as long as I've known him, he's like you, into wine. Only I don't know. But I don't know where his level of knowledge is because I don't know anything. But he said, let's have some dinner. And that turned into a 5-hour dinner with a total of 4 bottles of different wine, which I sent pictures to you because apparently they were supposed to be good. They tasted good. And of course, you said, well, who else was there? And I said, no, it's just the 2 of us. And then you kind of went into this long, non-believing state that I could drink that much alcohol.
I'm maintaining my position.
What you never answered or never commented on the wines except...
Yeah, I did.
You said nothing to complain, but were they actually good? I mean, are these...
Well, the Gigondas that they had was probably the most famous of the area.
Which is that?
It
the
looked
white
like
wine?
A couple of Grand Cru grower champagnes, which are always dynamite.
He said he said there's only 500 bottles of that particular champagne was ever made.
That's possible.
Yeah.
Because generally speaking, the guys who grow do grower champagne, which is just a type of champagne where guys are growers. They're the guys who grow lots of grapes and sell them to the big boys, Bollinger.
And so then they'll make their own special little house run.
To make a little batch,
small batch,
big batch in
small
some
batch,
cases.
small batch,
artisan.
Very artisan.
And believe me, they're considered artisans. And those wines are always dynamite. They're not as good as the superstar big boys, but they're about 1/10 the price of steel. So he knows how to buy cheap. Now the other is Dutch, and and the other one I never heard of, some screwy wine. I don't even know if it was a white or red. It was I looked it up, and it was done by some people that were, I don't know what the wine was.
It must have been the white wine, because it had this.
Yeah, it was the white wine. I was unfamiliar with that wine completely, and then I did a little research. I'm still unfamiliar with it. It's just some obscurity.
Well, that was the one that was the most interesting to me, because it had what he called it oxidation, and it had this bouquet, this smell to it that was very distinct. In fact,
would be called oxidized. So he served you an oxidized wine that was tasty.
It was one of these smells that you'll never forget, kind of like DMT. You'll never forget that smell. This one, it was oxidation. I mean, doesn't sound like that's supposed to be that way, but it was delicious. I really enjoyed it.
Huh. Well, I don't know what he's talking about. I don't know, because oxidation, generally speaking, is just a precursor to turning a wine to vinegar.
Pre-corking.
I mean, it could have been materized. There could have been there's other things that can happen. Jurançon has a funny style of wine that creates this particular flavor that's tasty.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about that wine or what he's talking about.
Well, anyway. So that lasted much longer than I expected. So I'm like, crap. And of course I had to get up at 6:30 to catch the flight home. And so I'm back at the hotel. I'm like, all right, I'm tired. And I turn on the TV, see what else is going on. The only news I got was that, the Black Pete Sinterklaas arrived. And of course we have this same controversy we've had for 8 years now about the Black Pete's. And so all the different local stations were reporting in, because you'll recall that in order to move away from the obvious intentional racism of the Black Pete's with the white Sinterklaas coming from Spain to bring the children gifts, they decided to go to the Soot Pete, which would mean his face would only be somewhat blackened because he went down the chimney, so he had soot. And it turns out the ratio of Soot Pete's to Black Pete's was quite low, probably only about 10%. But all of the local stations reporting mentioned that this was the transition year, as Black Pete is transitioning from black to Soot Pete. And I'm sure we'll hear, I'll probably read some stuff today if there were any protests and demonstrations about this fine children's holiday tradition. So I wake up at, actually I got a text message in the middle of the night, and it was something about delayed, whatever. I'm like, I'll deal with it. And I wake up at 6:30, and my flight it was supposed to leave at 10:20. It was delayed until 2:30.
4 hours?
Yeah, this is a real problem, because, it's not flying direct. I got to go via Houston. So I'm getting.
You're going to miss a connection.
So they're rebooking me time after time. It's just, the whole thing is a nightmare, so I don't have much time to, I'm just standing in line and doing bull crap. So, how can I prep? Not really. Get on the plane. Now, you can do some prep on the plane, but you can't clip videos. I mean, you have to load up.
Wi-Fi.
Well, there was Wi-Fi in United, but you got to wait for the videos don't play very, very well. You have to, start the video, pause it, wait for it to load. So you can't really clip from that. And then on arrival, holy crap. Houston.
Well, you had the Ghost thing. Ghost, whatever that thing you have, you can go right through.
Well, so that's part one. I go to the global entry, and despite that, other producers who are in the same boat as I say there's a grace period. There's a grace period of 6 months because they had to move a lot of Custom Border Patrol agents down to the border. So they didn't have enough manpower to do the interviews. No, none of that is true in my case. I look in the camera. I put down my passport immediately. Your global entry has expired. I'm like, okay. So then I go through the the normal line, which actually I'd say moved quite fast. Then, of course, you wait forever to get your suitcase because you have to declare your luggage before you can, then you have to recheck it. But then here's the thing that's bothersome. Then you have to go through a series of security checks. And Houston had something that I'd never witnessed in my life. So you already go, so you've gone through customs, you have your bag, then you walk out the door, and there's always a couple agents there, looking at you, seeing if you twitch, which always makes me twitch. And they had a dog, a beagle, and the beagle's sniffing away, so that's no problem. But then we had to go through another one of those, like the Disneyland line that, snakes you around back and forth until you got to the end, and it was double as wide as the line itself, which is really only meant for, two people close together. And they were yelling at people, all right, stand next to each other, one by one, next to each other, two people at a time. And, this wife and her husband in front of me, I think they might have been traveling with a friend. And so the wife lines up with whoever she was with. And then everyone's confused. And I'm like, well, I guess that's us, buddy. And so he and I stand next to each other. And then imagine this path, maybe.
Wait. And then you're shot dead.
That's what you'd expect. There's this path of, I don't know.
No wonder cattle get so nervous.
No, that's exactly what it felt like. But then, so there's a dog at the kind of halfway of this pathway. Let's say it's 30 feet. And on the floor in front of us are two sets of paw prints. And we have to follow the paw prints past the dog. And what was going on with this? Are they training me to be a dog? Why did it have to be side by? And I wasn't going to ask because first of all, I'm tired. They're not taking any shit from anybody. But it was the oddest thing. Why would I have to partner with someone, walk lockstep at the same time past the dog, following the green hoof prints on the floor? I'd really like to know what that was about. And then, of course, you get pushed right into another one.
Because Arab terrorists hate dogs.
I got too many time codes to clip here for you today. It was the oddest thing. And then, then we went through another horrible, winding, multi-laned, cattle. Yeah, it's the cattle chute. It's exactly what it is. My bags, of course, always getting pulled open, everything out, everything in, swab everything, because I got the whole studio with me. So, they're always trying to catch me on having a vibrator in my bag. That's what they think the mic looks. And they're all jitty when they see my bag. We're going to get this guy now.
What's this, sir?
Yeah. So, and then, finally, so I didn't get to bed until midnight, and I got up at 5:30, and then, of course, had to build up the studio, which I couldn't do last night. And when you're groggy, man, you'll forget a wire easily.
So your GOES thing, yes, I would assume so.
Yeah.
Your GOES thing didn't work. Global entry, whatever it's called.
Global entry system. Yeah, that didn't work. But the dog paw print next to each other thing was puzzling and concerning.
Yeah,
someone will
get an explanation. We have people that work in that division.
Oh yeah,
of the government. They can explain it to us. What the hell's going on with this? And why is it dog prints? And why do you have to be side by side? How does that make things any better?
It just
doesn't make sense.
Puzzling.
This is the reason I don't like traveling anymore.
It's just, there's a lot of reasons not to like traveling, John.
Well, I know, but it's just another reason. It's one thing after another.
Yeah.
I mean, it used to be a lot of fun to travel, but now it's 50 years ago.
Right.
But now it's just it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, when you're there, you get to accomplish something or other, maybe not. You can do things remotely now. But the process is the problem.
Yeah.
And they're doing nothing to alleviate. They're making the planes tighter. They're moving the seats together. They had to get a law passed to make the seats far enough apart so you could actually sit in these things. They keep talking about having you stand up in the plane for the whole flight and strap you in.
Yeah, we've seen this.
That way you can jam more people in the plane like you're locked. And they're seriously considering these things. This is how much they care about your travel experience.
No, they clearly don't. Clearly don't. So anyway, we're back, and I'm happy to be back. It's nice to be home, especially with the new neighbors. So it's all good. Bring them an apple pie.
Well, when you started that segment, I thought you were going to say that Matthew McConaughey moved next door. Well, he's in the town,
right next to Jennifer Aniston and Sandy Bullock, and no celebrities. When it comes to celebrities in Austin, I'm it. That's it. I'm it. Old MTV guy. No one else lives here. They just pretend to look hip.
Well, like the hobo said, it's the greatest place in the world.
It's a party, man. Why wouldn't you want to come to Austin? Oh boy, but yes.
Well, anyway, go on.
No, go ahead. I mean, I was going to change topic.
I guess I have a few clips which I should go with some local news around here.
Yeah, sure. Ben
Shapiro was at Stanford.
Oh boy, did he get boycotted?
Well, they booed him, and they did. He had managed to speak, and even though they had people outside yelling, "Hey ho, hi ho, hey whatever's it again, hey ho, hi ho, Ben Shapiro's got to go, hey ho ho, Ben Shapiro's got to go, hey ho ho." Yeah. They had that going on outside, and meanwhile, his whole speech was about the alt-right being a bunch of Nazis. They're telling him to go. It was some irony there.
Of course.
But Shapiro had got a clip. I'll play the kicker clip first. This was a short little guy comes up with a question. Shapiro, by the way, appreciated what you're going to hear. This is Ben Shapiro question with the kicker.
So one of my question is, have you been keeping up with what's going on with Roger Stone and what your thoughts on maybe some of the jurors or the judge that might be going against him?
So to be honest with you, I haven't followed.
Also, Epstein didn't kill himself.
Did I predict that this would go nuts or what? This is
it's totally out of control.
Well, hold on. I mean, if we're going to do it, let me do a couple. And you want to just let me do two, and then we'll get back to.
No, you can do as many as you want, but I want to mention something. You did predict this. You totally predicted this, but you didn't add the observation at this is the modern version of a Rickroll.
Well, no, we talked about it being Baba Booey, which is similar. But you're right.
It's a Baba Booey, but I consider it more of a Rickroll because Baba Booey is pretty.
You're right. Well, what is cool is that, and I encourage everybody to do this, and I was just too tired to do it for No Agenda, although I will do it today. The weather app. Someone sent me a screenshot. Sometimes the app will fail if you don't have a connection or if it can't connect. And so it says here, this is New York, 51 degrees, feels like 51, wind 6 southwest. I was going to fetch you some weather, but then I remembered Epstein didn't kill himself. This is what everyone's 404 page not found should be that. Should be
great idea.
Epstein didn't kill himself.
That's a great idea.
It's too funny. And here's MSNBC.
But by the way, it's a great idea for the next few months. Then
it'll be over. It'll be over. Yeah, it'll be over. This is MSNBC asking some students in Alabama about the elections, and I think this particular one was asked about Trump's policies.
And I want to turn here to Parker as well. The three of you told me you voted for the president in 2016. You're supporters of his. Why do you like him so much, and what policies stand out to you that you support?
Well, I would say mainly just the no-nonsense policies, and especially since Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. That's awesome, yeah. That's totally perfect. Just wait and see it.
Turning back.
Takes the reporter a second to figure out what, because reporter isn't actually listening to what the people say when they ask him questions.
No,
she's like, yeah, especially since Epstein didn't kill himself. You even did that. You rickrolled me with that in that whole wine email thread, which I thought was pretty funny.
I did.
That was pretty good. All right. Anyway, back to Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, Ben Shapiro. So I just thought this was a very interesting observation because it's something we kind of lose sight of. He's describing the difference between the left and the alt-right and how they're just kind of upside-down mirror images of each other. And then there goes his effort, by the way. I'm here to do it in real time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cars. Good.
Okay.
That's better.
The economy is stable.
So it's something we lose when his conclusion to this is something we kind of lose sight of when we're talking about the left or the alt-right or anybody in between. He's not a fan of the alt-right, and this is his little discussion and his point, and I think it's something we have to all of us kind of have to remember.
Political correctness is a weapon for the left, but it's also a weapon for the alt-right. Harvard professor Steven Pinker, who the left tried to cancel for saying this, made this clear last year. He was saying that political correctness is a way for the left to shut down debate. By shutting down debate, they actually open the door to the alt-right because they say you can't ask certain questions. Then the questions get asked, they shut it down, and people go, wait, I'll just look online for the answer, and the first answer they find might be something from an alt-right website, and they start to take it more seriously, right? This is something Steven Pinker said, so the left called him alt-right and shut him down. There's something that's the most nefarious of all when it comes to these sort of de facto playing off each other political lines between the far left and the alt-right. And that is that they actually mirror themselves in politics and culture. They both have an identity politics view. As I say, the left's view of American politics is that Americans can be identified by group. Americans are black or Hispanic or white or green or Jewish or lesbian or, in the best of all possible worlds, a half Native American, half black, little person who is gender fluid. Right? If you're on the left, you don't describe people by their belief system or by what they do. You describe them by their attributes. You describe them by group attributes. And they have a whole intersectional hierarchy deciding how victimized you are based on how many of these boxes you check. The only difference between the left and the alt-right is that they reverse the hierarchy, meaning that the left thinks that hierarchy is bad, right? They create this hierarchy where white people are the most powerful, and then progressively you go all the way down to the bottom and you get to the LGBT people, and those are the people who are the least powerful according to this hierarchy. And they say that hierarchy is bad, we should just flip the hierarchy. And then you have the alt-right, and they say, no, the hierarchy is good, and we should keep the hierarchy the way that it is. And then there's all the rest of us who are like, what hierarchy? There shouldn't be a hierarchy. What the hell are you talking about? We're individuals. We live in a free country.
Alt-right. Just wanted to play a jingle. Never get to play the alt-right jingles anymore. Yeah, he makes a very valid point.
Yeah. It's something you just kind of start to forget about with all these arguments and debates going on. And we live in a free country. What hierarchy? What are we talking about here?
Exactly.
So, the thing is, we tried to play Ben Shapiro's clips. I remember I had one of the first ones. It was years and years ago. Mm-hmm. And you hated him. And you didn't want the clips. And then you started playing some clips. And I don't like his speed talking.
No.
It really needs to be
horrible.
It's got to be cut by about, I think, if you go a 0.8x,
then you're kind of in the strike zone. It's a little
better. You might
better.
get into the point where you can understand it, but you have to be. It is a way to glue your attention because you won't hear a word he says if you're not kind of clued in. But I have to admire the guy for the career he's made out of himself, despite the fact that he went to UCLA.
For the identity politics. Which, of course, is what the Democrats are doing this cycle. And I guess everyone does it all the time, but it's pretty obvious. The thing that I've been talking about with Mo is that I think all the Democrats know that they need the black vote. And we've studied long enough here on the show that, they're going after black women, and they're the ones that they're going to activate, as it's called. They're activating the black women. So how are they going to activate them? Well, the first thing you need to do is make sure you get all black women. And all black women, that's women, WMXN. I'm not kidding. WMXN. Because if you do all black women, that also includes the black trans women and the black cis women, and they're being activated.
Despite pervasive attacks on our communities, our identities, and our lives, black, trans, and cis women, femmes, gender nonconforming, and non-binary folk remain at the forefront of each and every social movement to hold this country accountable.
We are progressive black leaders who are not impressed by political theater. We know that big things happen when black women come together and take our own space in the political process.
And though no one person could hold all our aspirations and the hopes for president, there is one leader who we believe will work with us.
That candidate is Senator Elizabeth Warren. She has a track record of taking on the predatory policies that harm our communities. We've come together as a collective voice, and we hope to encourage others, especially black women and gender nonconforming folks, to join us.
We are all in for Warren. And if you are too, go to blackwomen4.org, sign the endorsement statement, and join us.
There you go. Liz Warren, who says black trans women are the backbone of our democracy. I wish I had a clip.
Well, that's news to me.
Well, she tweeted that. I wish I had a clip of it, but she tweeted that. But yeah, so this is the group that's being activated for Elizabeth Warren. But we need to stay with the obvious identity politics, helped by the Democrat Party's mainstream media helpers, who are bountiful. The top of the list would be Chuck Todd of the Chuck Todd Cast on MSNBC, and someone sent me this clip, and I'm listening to it, and like, does anyone else? Maybe it's just me, but what this guy is about? Yeah, I don't need that affirmation from you. This is one of the most racist things I've heard.
Guns and climate.
Oh, I'm sorry. They're talking about Michael Bloomberg supposedly jumping into the race. So let's look at the pros and the cons.
Guns and climate. Who's to his left?
Well, Beto was to his left on guns, but he's not going to be a factor any longer.
Right? I mean, so...
Also the governor of
you can make an argument that
Bloomberg has embraced the Green New...
I don't think he's embraced that. I agree.
So that's one area where he actually is more to the center than she is.
You know, in the smoke-filled room, you'd say, on paper, Bloomberg has the right balance of what you want to win a broad election. Maybe not a deep election, but if you're trying to win the ex-suburban Republican, which, by the way, Michael Bloomberg's an ex-suburban, arguably an ex-urban Republican, and at the same time, you care about these core progressive issues like guns and climate, it ain't just somebody buying an election.
I'm trying to think of Michael Bloomberg as the nominee in Western Pennsylvania.
I know what you're thinking.
The suburbs of Michigan, the Michigan suburbs, the Ohio suburbs, the Wisconsin suburbs.
By the way, there's only one running mate for him. It's the same running mate Joe Biden has to pick, and it's the same running mate Pete Buttigieg has to pick. It's Stacey Abrams, by the way. There's nobody else that Bloomberg can match up with if someone got this nomination than Stacey Abrams.
Why?
Yes. I think he has to have a person of color. I think he needs a diversity on the ticket, person of color, no?
Now, when Chuck Todd says it like this, you need a person of color on the ticket, excuse me, is that not the definition of a token black? Is that exactly what he's saying?
Pretty much. What do you expect from Chuck? He looks like a racist.
He does have kind of that scruff Nazi look, doesn't he?
Got that short haircut, the whole thing.
Yeah. I was just kind of like, wow, man. Yeah. Oh, it's got to be a person of color. It's got to be a person of color. How could you even think differently? Yes.
Well, first of all, he played the Bloomberg announcement on the way Democracy Now! Thought of it. This is the Bloomberg on Democracy Now!
The billionaire former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg is reportedly preparing to jump into the 2020 presidential race. The New York Times reports Bloomberg has sent staffers to Alabama to gather signatures in order to qualify him for the primary. His possible 2020 bid comes as he's reportedly skeptical that former Vice President Joe Biden can beat out his progressive challengers, Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren and Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders in the Democratic primary.
You know, it helps if you plug both those channels in. What the hell was that?
I was going to talk about that.
Oh.
So Democracy Now! Decided to do a remote.
I'm already there. Yum. Do tell.
They're at some, I think they're in South Carolina. There's some Green New Deal convention or something.
Oh, yeah. Sandy was there. Sandy was there with Bernie, and yeah, it was a big deal.
Yeah, they were there live.
Yeah.
And they had a ground loop the entire show.
Oh, on stage, too, throughout the microphones, the amp in the
No,
in
they
the
had
house,
like a little studio. The funny thing was when they went to their clips, which they did, the ground loop was gone.
It was gone, yeah. So it was a mic. Somewhere.
It was a mic ground loop. And
this was live on
this thing because I was like, what is this buzzing?
Wow.
Nice amateur hour.
That's really
the way I saw it. But it's in there. All the clips I have from Democracy Now!
All of them have that, huh?
Well, except for when they cut to
a package. Yeah.
Yeah, they're all buzzy. I knew you were going to give me grief, but it was not me.
You just said they all buzzy.
They all buzzy. So use that's a show title.
They all buzzy. I love it.
They all buzzy.
They all buzzy, bro. Yeah.
So Bloomberg, the way they see it is Bloomberg is like a right winger.
Oh no, they hate him. They hate him. They hate him. This will not stand.
No, everyone hates him. In fact, in California, we now are hating him. All the anti-Juul commercials that were part of this scheme that you've uncovered that nobody else seems to notice.
Yeah.
All the anti-Juul commercials, and there's tons of them because there's some law they're trying to pass to back off on something.
Mm-hmm.
All right at the bottom in big letters, not like a little bitty thing at the bottom. Big giant letters. Sponsored by Michael Bloomberg.
Oh yeah.
Ads in California about the guy is. He's the guy who wouldn't let you have a big cup of soda. I mean, this guy.
Well, it's worse. It was the guy who wouldn't let poor people have a sugary drink because poor people drink shitty ass sugary drinks. But rich people could have all the nasty saps that are filled with sugars and huge sugar-based flavored coffees to their heart's extent. Their heart's desire. There you go. That's better.
It's even better.
Yeah.
Well, the point is that this guy's got no legs.
Well, what we need to do is
that's why he's so short.
And here comes Trump's nickname for Michael Bloomberg.
There is nobody I'd rather run against than Little Michael. That I can tell
you. Little Michael. 2008. Pregnancy bias lawsuit. The 72 moms versus Bloomberg. This was 72 current and former female employees who were became pregnant while working at Bloomberg, his financial service company, claimed the company discriminated against them by decreasing their pay, demoting them, and excluding them from other employment opportunities after they became pregnant. And this is from ABC News. One complaint alleges that a Bloomberg senior executive, upon hearing that two of his female executives had become pregnant, remarked, "I'm not having any pregnant bitches working for me," and instructed another executive to terminate them. And then, and apparently the culture was saying things like, "Oh, you're not committed. You don't want to be here because you got pregnant." It was a huge scandal, but it was 11 years ago. But I think they should do some digging, don't you?
Oh, yeah. No, if he gets anywhere, they're going to start doing some digging.
I mean, they got
to get Tulsi back up there. She'll blast him.
Right. I was looking at, there's a Medium article written by someone who's, I guess, is read a lot over there, a Democrat. And they hate him. Hate him. Why would we elect this other white cis billionaire? Yeah, and then, was it De Niro? I think I have it here. Where is that?
He's a pig.
No, it was even better than that. Where did my De Niro go? Hold on a second. Well, that's... Huh? Did I lose that clip? Oh, man, it was a good clip, too.
Right, demand to hear it on the next show.
Shoot. That had to be with Joy Reid. Hold on, let me say this can't. This will not stand.
You may just have it mislabeled.
I got it. Yes, I got it.
Poorly labeled.
I got it. This is De Niro bitching about Trump, bitching about Giuliani on MSNBC, Joy Reid's show, of course. And this was sent to me as the quintessential example of wat je zegt ben jezelf met je kop door de helft, i.e. the Dutch proverb, you are what you accuse others of being.
But Trump's not a billionaire. He's a fake president. He calls everything else fake because he knows he's fake. He projects. He's a classic. I don't know what you call it. Everything that he says negative about other things or other people is what he's saying about himself. So he's fake. He's a loser. He is a genuine loser. And to get somebody who's real, like Bloomberg, who's worth, I think, over $50 billion. Or maybe a lot more. And this guy, he says he's worth $3-something billion. We don't even know if he has. He's just a total huckster. He's a hustler.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that
I like Joy. Yeah, totally. I agree. Mike's got $50 billion. This guy's a huckster. I guess you need to be a billionaire now, according to De Niro, to become president.
He's a hustler.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that angers him probably the most is that people like you, people from Hollywood, which he craves to be a part of your world. He craves to be a part of the world of the, of the famous, of the people that are actors. Or
I love how this Joy Reid is just making this up. This is her opinion that he just craves that.
Athletes, like he wants to be a part of your world, and the rejection from people like you, I think, is one of the things that bugs him the most.
How could you not want? I mean, when I was in New York before he was doing all this stuff, I never even want to have anything to do with him. I mean, I heard he's around. He wants to take a picture. I have nothing to do with him. He's a fool. Everybody knew that. But I mean, now he'd call up the tabloids and say he's the agent for. He'd call up Forbes magazine. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, that never happens in Hollywood.
And
John Barron.
People bought it.
Yeah, absolutely. Last but before I go to the movie, what do you make of Giuliani?
I think he lost his mind. I think he's what a shame, because he had something going and then he just prostituted himself to work with Trump. I mean, the guy's how could he do that? I have no understanding of how he could. He was the guy who used to prosecute people with the RICO Act and so on, and now he's part of a criminal family. It's he's the Tom Hagen.
Tom Hagen. Nice reference to The Godfather. Yeah, I mean, what did De Niro actually say there? He's just spouting about how much he hates him and nobody liked him and we always thought he was a fool and he clearly wants to be part of my world.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either. But, that's what De Niro thinks. He's just nuts.
Well,
and then
that's definitely also.
I caught this. Helen Mirren. This is actually a very good exercise. I'm happy that Stephen Colbert did this because it showed you immediately the fallacy of this Ukraine impeachment bullcrap. So we had Helen Mirren and Ian McKellen. I think they have a movie together. Maybe it's The Irishman. No, that's De Niro's movie. They have a movie together.
There's always a movie.
There's always a movie they got there together. And so they come out and they're promoting their movie. And Colbert then has this genius idea, since Trump has said that you got to read the transcript, because if you don't read the transcript, then you'd have no context. You don't understand. It was a beautiful phone call. It was a perfect phone call. Everything could not have been more perfect. Means. It was just beautiful. And so I will just read to you. This is what makes it interesting. And I'm reading the actual PDF. The only lines that matter for this gambit that Colbert did. We are ready to. This is the Zelensky, the Ukrainian president. We are ready to continue to cooperate for the next step. Specifically, we are almost ready to buy more javelins from the United States for defense purposes. And then the president says, I would like you to do us a favor, though, because our country has been through a lot and Ukraine knows a lot about it. I would like you to find out what happened with this whole situation, the situation with Ukraine. They say CrowdStrike. I guess you have one of your wealthy people, the server. They say Ukraine has it. There are a lot of things that went on, the whole situation. I think you're surrounding yourself with some of the same people. And so, nothing about Biden in this whole paragraph. And he winds up by saying, whatever you can do, it's very important that you do it if that's possible. And then Zelensky, and then, the Biden thing comes up way down at the bottom. So, but that's the piece that they're going to reenact, where Trump asks for this favor for Ukraine, information about CrowdStrike, nothing about the Bidens. Yet here's how it's presented on television.
Donald Trump, you may have heard, released a transcript of him essentially extorting the Ukrainian president, saying, we won't give the military aid unless unless you launch the investigation against the Bidens. Now, he says...
It's very clear what he just said. He said Trump is asking for a favor for him to launch the investigation on the Bidens, which is, in the literal transcript, not true. The favor is asked about CrowdStrike, Ukraine, the server, the corruption going on in Ukraine.
President saying, we won't give the military aid unless unless you launch the investigation against the Bidens.
Say what?
No, I'm listening to her going, yeah, and they're kind of agreeing with each other, and she's like acting the fool.
Yeah.
Now, he says it's a perfect phone call, perfectly innocent, and he wants to read it on air in a fireside chat, and he thinks that when he reads it out loud, it'll suddenly seem so innocent that you won't want him removed from office. And since I have two of the greatest living actors right here, I was wondering... This is the line, in case... And I will be the judge, but whether you're innocent or guilty, after you read the line. Let me set the scene. We'll go back and forth here, okay? Let me set the scene. The scene is you're on the phone with the Ukrainian president. His country's been invaded by the Russians. You've got the military aid he needs, but you're not going to give it to him.
Notice what he's saying here. His country's been invaded by the Russians. Trump has the military aid that you need. A bunch of javelins. Okay. I mean, this is unbelievable.
You're on the phone with the Ukrainian president. His country's been invaded by the Russians. You've got the military aid he needs, but you're not going to give it to him.
I guess Russia's out now that he got the military aid. Must be over.
Unless you get the pro quo back. This is what you say after he says, I would like the Javelin missiles. Helen, if you would try this...
Actually, what the guy said was, we are almost ready to buy more javelins from the United States for defense purposes.
President, his country's been invaded by the Russians. You've got the military aid he needs, but you're not going to give it to him unless you get the pro quo back. This is what you say after he says, I would like the Javelin missiles. Helen, if you would try this casually.
Zelensky, I'd like you to do us a favor, though.
Guilty. Ian.
I'd like you to do us a favor, though.
And he holds his fingers up like a gun. Now, officially, they should, you know what? Academy Awards, BAFTAs should all be rescinded. They're horrible actors.
Guilty. Helen, could you try happy? Would you try happy?
Yes. Oh, yes.
I would like the Javelin missiles, please.
Well, I'd like you to do us a favor, though.
And they just go on and on. And the whole thing is based on a bullshit lie. It's not even from the transcript. So, I can't wait to hear Trump reads that line. I mean, wow.
It's hard to watch the Colbert Show because it's so full of shit.
I mean, but does he even know that that's just not what the transcript says? I don't care if anyone reads the transcript. I don't care if Trump gets impeached or not. I don't care. But
the comedy, the writers in the back room are dreaming these skits up. And they're think it's a funny idea, so we should do it. Well, it's not if any writer back there is going, well, this is not exactly what happened, they would be excoriated, say, so what? That's not the point. We're trying to get a laugh here.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
But it does affect the public discourse, and it's very irresponsible as far as I'm concerned. There's plenty of ways to get a laugh. There's plenty of jokes out there. Writers can write good material. They don't have to lie to the public and mislead people.
No,
it's just shameful. But it's just us.
Yeah, maybe. Let's just stick with 2020. Sandy was shilling for Bernie on the aforementioned, what was that? The climate change
the event down in South Carolina, wherever it was.
Right. And
with the ground loop buzz.
Well, they didn't have the ground loop buzz on Now, AOC dressed in a very interesting outfit, just from a television and stage perspective. A long green dress, about calf high, so under the well below the knees, with black stockings or whatever they were, and black shoes. And this was a different outfit for her. And it was green, of course, which I guess was for the Green New Deal. But then when it had kind of this flowy motion, and then she went into this whole thing about politicians, which she repeated later on stage, or maybe it was earlier at a Bernie rally. But this was a much better version, and she's just talking about how heartbreaking it is when politicians lie to you.
And so when you elect a politician and then they let you down, it feels like rejection. It feels like heartbreak. It feels like betrayal. And it feels like I never want to love again. That's what that feels like. And so...
Yeah. I never want to love again. Hold on, here we go.
It feels like I never want to love.
This is a clip of the day, by the way.
Well, let's play the whole thing.
And it feels like I never want to love again. That's what that feels like. And so I understand how that feels because I felt that way. But you know what happens when you say I never want to love again? Your heart gets black and you turn angry and you get very anxious.
I'm going to take my clip of the day. I'm going to take it. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you, Sandy. I sit and wonder why you left me. Oh, Sandy. Yes, Sandy. Oh, Sandy. That's our new tune. Whenever we play a good AOC clip like that.
That is the funniest clip for a while.
Can you believe that?
Yeah.
It just tickles me.
That dress looked expensive to me.
Oh, all her stuff is it's haute couture, man. It's not off the rack. She's got good stuff.
We're definitely getting some good stuff. She's got the right figure for it. She can look good in it, hangs there. You get some good kudos from she'll get some plugs for the labels.
Yeah. I wonder, do they do profile? I'll have to look at some of the fashion mags, see how much they highlight her and what she's wearing. I know that they did that one time.
It's just beginning. Once they figure this out, that they can drape her.
Well, she's perfect for
with
it.
loners, She
it's all loners. Of course, it's loners. Yeah.
Yeah, because you want to wear the same dress twice.
Can you imagine? That would be crazy.
Be like Judy Woodruff, who seems to have been pushed off, or maybe she's on vacation, but I haven't seen her for a while.
Interesting.
Yeah, they got some dour woman out doing the show, younger.
Not one of the regulars, just a new
No,
one?
they got two or three new people on there that are just there all the time now.
Oh.
I think they've done a revamp.
Now you mentioned this in the newsletter. The big Greta head in San Francisco.
Oh yeah,
the big mural. I figured unless you have one, I think it's a local report, but I thought it was rather interesting. And to kind of contrast your comments, which were, what the heck? We could have had so many giant heads of so many interesting people.
Why would you put a big head of this girl on there for? She's never even been to San Francisco, as far as I know.
Yeah, I don't even know if she has. No, she hasn't. We would have known if she'd been to San Francisco because she'd have the key to the city hanging around her neck,
or more, the poop to the city.
You are looking at the newest addition to the San Francisco skyline, a mural designed to draw attention to climate change. High above Mason Street. 10 stories up on the side of the Native Sons building near Union Square. Andres Petrocelli, an internationally renowned artist who goes by Cobre, is painting a teenage girl with big blue eyes and a Mona Lisa smile.
Mona Lisa smile.
It's a mural of Greta Thunberg. She's the 16-year-old from Sweden who has inspired young people all over the world to take to the streets and let older people know they want climate change to be taken seriously.
What I want to people is to realize that we have to do something for the world, otherwise this is the beginning of our extinction.
Cobre says his paintings often provoke reactions.
This one is a little bit more political in some kind of way because I want them to think about it, to create conversation with the friends and everything. Have you seen the mural of Greta? Say, what is that about climate change?
Cobre is donating his time for this cause. The environmental nonprofit won.
Sorry?
I don't believe that for a minute.
What? That he's donating it?
Yeah.
No, I don't either. I mean, you have to get permits even if you're going to do this kind of stuff. It's not that. It's got to be a city initiative, I think.
Could be an NGO.
Have you seen the mural of Greta? Say, what is that about climate change?
Colbre is donating his time for this cause. The environmental nonprofit One Atmosphere is buying the paint.
You hit people with public art and it hits them in the heart.
Hoping people will be inspired not just to gawk, but to act.
She's a child. At the end of the day, it's a child that's telling us what to do.
No!
I hope that people are touched by this image and that they understand the innocence and the strength and the power of her message. And it helps people to bring about some change in their own lives and also get involved politically and bring about changes, at a national and international level.
The Greta mural is expected to be completed by early next week.
Gee. There you go.
It's an eyesore.
Now, if they did the No Agenda album art, it would be cool. And that would be great on the side of a building. The Greta Thunberg.
Yeah, actually, it would be better. It'd be less of an eyesore, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So there's this book that came out.
Oh, the anonymous book.
The anonymous book.
Yes. I'm glad you're covering this.
And so the thing is, who the hell wrote this book? Steve Pieczenik says he knows.
Oh, really? Is this the Pieczenik clip?
This is now before you play it.
Yeah,
I want to say.
Can I just say you're walking all over my beat?
Yeah, you were on the road.
That's true.
Pieczenik was visibly shaken.
Oh,
extremely nervous.
I haven't seen this one yet, so
he was stammering. He was making errors in his sentence structures. He was not happy about having to reveal this guy.
Wow! And
he believes that Bolton was the guy who is anonymous, which makes nothing but sense to me. It has some backup clips talking about this book. But let's play the Pieczenik clip first.
Hi, this is Dr. Pieczenik, and today I want to talk about John Bolton, the Benedict Arnold of America. Now, why do I say that?
Why?
A book came out that was written by Anonymous, and it's written about the Trump administration and how childish they are, how puerile, and how ineffective they are. In fact, John Bolton calls the president a 12-year-old, but doesn't know what his mental condition is. I happen to know John Bolton, and I think he's a sociopath. But as an intelligence operative, what I did was to create agitation propaganda. I purposely created a proposal for my own book, which will come out in a few weeks, which talks about the real Jack Ryan and the person who really implemented a lot of the coups and counter-coups in this administration. Now I'm doing another coup. What I'm trying to do is to get John Bolton blown out of the water because he came in as an anonymous writer. And how did I figure that out? Number one, the passages that came out and were written in the New York Times and the Washington Post said the following: thanks to our great 9/11 situation, we have gone into now a puerile situation or self-destructive situation. In other words, what John had written, and the only person who could write that was somebody deeply involved in 9/11. When I wrote my proposal and presented it to Hachette, and I'll talk about Hachette in a minute, they turned me down immediately because they knew that the history of the real Jack Ryan was involved in breaking up the 9/11 coup. Now let me say to you how this came about. John Bolton's figure and personality fits what we call in the intelligence world mice. M standing for money, I for ideology, C for cash or for compromise, and E for ego. John needs the money. He's ideologically always been a neocon. C, he's always been compromised by someone or an institution, in this case Yale, where he went to Yale and worked with Bob Woodward and John Kerry, who are now on ABC News and NBC News. And the last one was ego. His ego is immense. Carl Ford, one of my intelligence operatives, said correctly that John needed to always suck up to the superior and always deprecate the bottom.
What was that acronym he had?
MICE.
MICE. Huh.
Money, something, compromise, and ego.
Well, he certainly fits the bill. I, by the way, the book he's talking about, I've read parts of Pieczenik's book. It's fantastic. He is the real Jack Ryan. It's a fantastic book.
Well, in this case, this book, A Warning by Anonymous, which is highlighted coincidentally in the New York Times in their book review.
Oh, of course, as one does.
Yes. I read the Times headline, a book review. In A Warning, anonymous author makes a case against re-election. And so I was thinking it makes a lot of sense that it was Bolton who wrote the anonymous piece, because he was fired shortly thereafter. Somebody either got wind of it. Yep. Guys, and in certain circles, you can find out who these people are. There's some publishing circles I know for a fact.
You must be able to find that out. Yeah.
And Pachenik's got a bunch of enough old contacts, old timers, and it's a gossip ring, and so they could find out who. Yeah,
and he has been actively pitching. I know, because I spoke to him before I left. He has been actively pitching his book to all the big publishers. So I'm sure that he was talking to people and got enough to put it all together right there.
Yes, absolutely. I don't think there's any doubt about it. But let's listen to some Bolton related rundowns that I picked up. Here's one from CBS-N. This is the Bolton to testify rundown.
I want to bring in Siobhan Hughes. She's a Capitol Hill reporter for the Wall Street Journal and joins us now. So Siobhan, thank you for joining us. You know, a lawyer for John Bolton says that his client has new information on these meetings with Ukraine. Bolton, of course, is a former national security advisor. I'm curious what your sources are telling you about the type of information Bolton might have.
So we don't know exactly what John Bolton knows, but what we do know is that he was well positioned to have a type of access that none of the witnesses has so far had. As the national security advisor, John Bolton was essentially Donald Trump's right-hand man on national security issues, would have been in the room with him, also in the room with other key players like Mick Mulvaney, Gordon Sondland. Mr. Bolton has a reputation for being very direct, very forthcoming. Even Democrats say that if they don't always agree with his politics, they can trust his information.
Yeah, I did catch some of this when I was watching some of the TV, even in European news, although not a lot about Trump at all, as I mentioned previously. A lot of people like, Bolton, we can't go. And Bolton he doesn't want to, but we're going to have to get him to testify. He's the guy. He can bring him down. Bolton is going to bring him down.
Yeah. Bolton's a bad guy. I mean, nobody liked him to begin with. When you listen to the right-wing talkers, none of these guys could figure out how Bolton even did. In the end, here's the question they asked Pachenik.
Okay.
Which is, how did Bolton get his job in the White House to begin with? Who put him in there? Which one of the stooges? Was it Mattis? Was it the guy before him?
Right. I'll ask him.
I'd like to know, because because all the right wing talkers pretty much say the same thing. How did Bolton get in here? He's a neocon, which goes against everything that Trump was running on. You know, he hated all these neocons, and he puts a neocon in as his national security advisor. Why?
Mm-hmm.
And so then Bolton gets in there, and he just turns out to be a.
And Pachenik was not happy about Bolton being in there. From day one, he was like, "Get that guy out. That guy's got to get fired."
So Bolton, becomes this anonymous character, which makes nothing but sense. But here is the second clip. This is excerpts from the anonymous book on Democracy Now! with our ground loop.
A midnight self-massacre. That was the plan hatched by some senior Trump administration officials who considered resigning en masse last year to sound the alarm about Trump's conduct. They ultimately rejected the idea over concerns it would further destabilize the government. The aborted warning is one of a series of revelations in a forthcoming book titled A Warning. Its author is an anonymous senior official within the Trump administration who published an anonymous op-ed in the New York Times last year headlined, "I am part of the resistance inside the Trump administration." In the book, the author describes senior officials waking up and trying to respond to Trump's overnight Twitter announcements, writing, quote, "It's like showing up at the nursing home at daybreak to find your elderly uncle running pantsless across the courtyard and cursing loudly about the cafeteria food as worried attendants tried to catch him."
Ageism.
You're stunned, amused, and embarrassed all at the same time. Only your uncle probably wouldn't do it every single day. His words aren't broadcast to the public, and he doesn't have to lead the U.S. government once he puts his pants on, unquote. The author also claims Trump once asked White House lawyers to write a bill to send to Congress aimed at reducing the number of federal judges after various judges had thwarted Trump's policies. Trump reportedly said, quote, "Can we just get rid of the judges? Let's get rid of the expletive judges. There shouldn't be any at all, really," he said. This according to the forthcoming book, A Warning.
Oh, yeah. Hey, that hum is fantastic. I mean, it's almost a format. We need to have some hum on our own show. I can't even make hum anymore. I don't think it's all digital. I don't know how they do it.
I'm driving around yesterday with Mimi, and I pointed out to her because I've got a bunch of college stations, and I pointed this out, and this is something that podcasters maybe should consider this. I'm listening to KLX, a local Cal station over at Berkeley, and the woman is doing a bunch of music, but she has a very low musical bed underneath her.
Mm-hmm.
When she's talking, just announcing, she's a little music going on.
Yeah, sure.
And I've noticed, and I used this trick once. I was doing a weekend at one of the stations around here, and I heard this years earlier.
Hot Rockin' Johnny C, everybody, how you doing?
It was a talk show,
Rockin' the Bay,
and it was. I heard a bed underneath some guy who's doing a show, and I still think it's fabulous to listen to. It was just a bunch of bubbling. It's like a little boiling pot.
Nick the Rat has a cauldron type thing like that as well.
Yeah, the cauldron. That's the cauldron. And you just have that going all. He has it, I think, with a lot of echo, but you can just have it in the background as a little bed. And I point out to Mimi, I said, only college stations do this because nobody else will allow it. It's just not allowable. For some reason, it became and I don't know why. Maybe you have a better handle on it than I do. A mainstream station, nobody will let you do that. You can maybe once in a while. You can get away with it, and then you get chewed out later. But they don't. Mainstream stations will not allow a bed underneath anything. They want the announcer to come on straight forward. You can put a little echo on him or something. Then you go back to the music. But you can't have that kind of noise in the background. Why is this?
You mean on a talk show?
On any show.
Oh, well, the top 40 guys, I got bubbles for us right now. I got someone farting in the bathtub. Sounds really good. On a top 40 radio station, there's never a jock talking without music or some bed underneath him. Ever. That's the format. But, like we talked the other day, like, what was that, where they're doing a music bed?
ABC, I think.
Yeah, it's stupid. I think it's distracting.
They're doing it all over but they're doing it over the clips.
Yeah.
It's like doing music, you're playing a song and you say you're doing top 40.
No, that's a mistake.
They're playing it over the clips. They're not playing it over the voice.
Oh, Jesus. I'm sorry. Jesus has nothing to do with it, but it's that stupid. Yeah, maybe this is better. Maybe this is better for us. We'll try this one.
With a little bubbling? Yeah, a little bubble action.
Here we go. How's that sound?
Now it sounds like we're a couple of guys in a jacuzzi.
Hey, funny meeting you here. Come here.
Anyway, so the point is, I want to get back to the story, which is this resigning en masse story is a creation. I don't believe a word of it.
Resigning en masse? Everyone's going to walk out?
Yeah, we're all going to walk out. Let's do it because we all hate working here so much that we're all going to walk out on the president. And then they said, well, we're not going to do it because it may disrupt the country too much. I don't believe a word of it.
The thing that Pachenik points out, and maybe this is why he was nervous, and I will ask him about it, aside obviously from who hired Bolton, that's high on the list. He was talking, because this is what Pachenik does. And it's interesting because I don't know if it really works, if he really believes it, or if he's just delusional. Because he will say to me, I'm running a PSYOP against John Bolton. And he said, I'm talking months ago. And so all his most of his videos at the time were all Bolton bad, Bolton. And he says, they monitor me and other people monitor me. And of course it's true because we monitor him as well. And here we are, we're actually rebroadcasting his message and we're not the only ones. So what he's worried about is that this anonymous book really is a soft coup PSYOP against Trump because it's a direct play into Trump's ego. And I don't know if he's made comments on it yet, but he probably will. And it becomes a kind of a negative distraction. He doesn't do well with these types of things and obsesses on it a little too much.
But
maybe a lot. No, Trump.
Oh, yes. But the good news is he doesn't read.
Thank goodness. So yeah, unless there's an audio book, it'll never happen. He won't know what's in the book. You're right. Well, all of this doesn't matter because as I did trounce down my beat this morning, it looks like indeed very soon we will have the unsealing of thousands of indictments. Yes. I know it's hard to believe, but we're finally there. Joe DeGeneva and his wife, Victoria Toonsig, come back on Joe Dobbs, Lou Dobbs, Pete Dobbs.
But did you check the date on this to make sure it's a recent clip? Because sometimes you can get fooled from 2 years ago.
No, I'm pretty sure this is a recent.
It'd be very similar, I'm sure.
Who cares? I'm just recycling them, pretending there's something new.
Let's turn to first the Inspector General report. I'll be in the same position I've been in for 2 years. Are we ever going to see this report?
You are going to see it, Lou, but I am not predicting. So much for anonymous sources. Look at that. One says yeah before Thanksgiving, and the other says no.
At least they're backing off on the timeline now, so they're cooling off a little bit. On next Wednesday, we're going to have thousands.
It's always next Wednesday.
So no longer. But I heard she slipped in. Before Thanksgiving, we should hold on to it.
But I can tell you this, and we have darn good sources for this. It's going to be very bad for the people in the Obama administration. As my source said to me, it's going to be worse than you can imagine.
Well, that is a heck of a tease, Victoria. That
like we haven't been teased for months.
I'm already sort of chomping at the bit to get the thing. Joe, your thoughts on that Horowitz report? It doesn't sound like it's going to be a tepid matter. Explosive, would you say?
I would say explosive, and I would say for people at the highest levels of the FBI and at the highest levels of the Justice Department, more important, the Justice Department, it's going to be devastating. It's going to ruin careers. It's going to make people have bar problems. It's going to be
Bill Barr problems.
No. Bar association problems, because what's clear, and now we know, is that the senior levels of the Obama Justice Department were complicit in knowingly submitting materially false applications to the FISA court for an illegitimate counterintelligence purpose, not for a legitimate purpose, but to spy on Americans for political purposes. And it really will end up being the beginning of the greatest political scandal in history. And it's being held up partially because of John Durham's new grand jury, which, by the way, exists for one reason and one reason only, because people are going to be indicted.
Indictments coming! Yeah.
Oh, brother.
And, but there's more. There's a part 2. And so that was about Horowitz's indictments, but you don't know nothing yet because the Durham investigation, Inspector General Durham, it's going to be massive.
It's been expanded, Lou, because he is now going into whole other areas. He's gone back into the origins of the investigation. I mean, for those of us who know this business, if you're in counterintelligence and you get a word that a George Papadopoulos has said he heard something, that the Russians have something, you know what you do? You go knock on his door within a week. And
she actually made a very interesting point here. Because I don't know if it was FBI, I think it was FBI before it was CIA, but she's making this point that if you get some word about Russian intelligence trying to infiltrate a campaign, you go knock on that guy's door within a week and you say, hey, let's talk about it. Let's see what's going on. It is exactly the same modus operandi the FBI uses for the 6-week cycle. When a guy says, kill all Jews in the synagogue, they don't go talk to him, see what's going on, but get him for a psych eval, maybe put a straitjacket on him. No. They give him phony bombs and jack him up for 2 months so that he can go and actually pretend to do it. This is a fundamental structural procedural issue with the United States intelligence communities. They're honey trappers. It's what is the word I'm looking for?
Well, we brought this up on the last show, and I still think this possibility exists that they have determined at some point that they can't do the old-fashioned thing, which still seems like the logical thing to do, which is that if you heard that Papadopoulos was being contacted by the Russians, you'd go turn him into a double agent right away.
Well, even better.
But no, you want to entrap him instead.
Exactly. There's a little bit more to this.
You know what you do? You go knock on his door within a week and ask him about it and have him give you the information. Where did he get it and how did he? They didn't do that. They didn't do that at all. They dissipate all the rules of a counterintelligence investigation.
And it's expanded because originally Barr wanted Durham to just look at the beginnings of Crossfire Hurricane. How did this start? How did it happen? But then what they discovered was that they found out from the Devin Nunes experience at the White House in March of 2000.
That's a great band name, the Devin Nunes experience.
Devin Nunes experience at the White House in March of 2017, that there had been massive unmaskings of Americans for political purposes, and that those information was given and leaked to the press. And by the way, the Michael Flynn Ambassador Kislyak call, the Russian ambassador, which was leaked to David Ignatius of the Post, is in fact the subject of one of the criminal investigations because that leak is a 20-year felony.
There you go. The Devin Nunes experience. Well, so, I have hopes.
Better
I
now.
have high hopes. I
hope everyone feels better.
And with that, I would like to sincerely thank you for your courage and say in the morning to you, the man who put the C in the connector ground loop, John C. Dvorak.
Well, in the morning to you, Mr. Adam Curry. Also in the morning, all ships at sea, feet in the air, subs in the water, boots in the air, and all the other things, and the dames and knights out there.
And in the morning to all of our trolls in Letrell Room. Letrell Room is where you can go hang out if you're a troll. It's like a digital bridge, and that bridge is the No Agenda Stream. NoAgendaStream.com. That bridge is filled with fun things for you to troll. Come on in. We've got cookies and milk. NoAgendaStream.com. But seriously, folks, there's good stuff in them streams. It's and it was so interesting. Thursday, Darren O does the pre-show. He does a fantastic, almost reminiscent of one of the like the great 70s jocks. Rapping, rhyming, just I don't know. But it's all bashing rock and roll. And then he hits, he hands it over the stream to Amsterdam, and I click go, and then I'm live, and it's cool. I mean, it's a real station. So anyway, NoAgendaStream.com. And also, we would like to thank the artist for episode 1188. That was our previous show. The artist was Data, who has won a couple of album art placements. And there's nothing like having rules for us to break a rule. As the title of the show was Greta Thunberg, which was a very obvious title. And we did something that we don't typically do. We combined the title with the album art, which was this fantastic Mad Max rendering of Greta. And it was just, as you said, and I recall this, that's not a simple Photoshop job. There was work done on this.
Yes, and we violated a second rule, which was to look up whether this thing is in the public domain done by someone else.
Oh, shit. Did we? We didn't.
We didn't.
And was it taken?
Nope. I did it after the fact because I was thinking about it.
You're right. Normally, we always check that. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So it was,
but no, I couldn't find any other examples. I mean, you could pop it in and it comes back with the No Agenda art.
Right.
So somewhere along the lines, our buddy
Data
did this picture of Greta and then plugged it into that other picture, which has been floating around.
Yeah.
And it was original.
Well, I mean, I think you mentioned that it's been done with Hillary. Hillary's been the face.
No, the original one, the original piece with the guy with the Mad Max character had a Hillary.
Right.
And so he swapped out the Hillary and put a Greta in the same basic style, not quite as an extreme. I mean, there's only so many hours in the day, but it's not as an extreme a look as the Hillary one, which is really frightening.
Yeah.
But he put that Greta in there. It worked beautifully. And I found nothing that indicates that this is lifted in any way. So it was but we normally check. I thought it was funny.
After the fact, oh crap, go take a look. And I thought Comic Strip Blogger would be disturbed by our breaking of the rule, but he actually defended our choice. Interestingly.
Well, I didn't know that I don't know that anybody knows the specific rule about the titles.
We've explained it before, and there was one person picked up on it. Said, "Hey, wait a minute! I thought the title and the album art and the opening clip are 3 separate things, and typically that is our rule."
Yeah, but we broke it for a good reason, and it happens. I mean, rules are meant to be broken, and we broke it. Now, there's other pieces.
Rules are meant to be broken.
They're meant to be broken. That's what they're for.
All right.
I thought, just to make sure that we make it clear we had some good art here, Darren had a number. Darren was going for it, and he couldn't get it.
Yeah.
But I thought another big cover up with the ABC logo I thought was good.
Yeah, it was good.
I like
good use of the acronym.
You talk for free, we make money. Which wasn't anything we were going to use, but it was funny.
It was funny, yeah.
There's a couple other ones.
Well, there was the "Hey Betsy, how to pick up girls" with the flight transponder. I mean, there was all kinds of stuff that was funny regarding the show. It's just, I mean, also it has to pop. I mean, the whole idea is that people are scrolling through their podcast app, which apparently still is not the case on all people's. And apparently they did fix the album art changing, but I would recommend, if it's not changing for you and you're up to date with your iOS 13,000,000 whatever, that you make sure that you delete your subscription and resubscribe. That may fix it. Although it shouldn't. It should just work. But I don't know. I don't know why Apple can't get it. It works on other podcast apps. It's fine.
I don't think they don't care.
They do care, but it's not one of their priorities because I don't think they have a dedicated team, is my understanding.
Maybe the team needs to be replaced.
Don't say this. We actually have knights up there, man.
I like the guys who run it. The top guys, the guys you talk to.
There's not. Well,
I'm talking about the coders.
Yeah, well, I know some. Believe me, those guys like us too. But there's it's the machine, man. It's the machine. The machine does things in strange and mysterious ways. Well, thank you very much, Data. You did a great job, and he has done some other good ones. Look at his page on noagendaartgenerator.com, where all modern and smart artists go to create art for our show, because it really is a great bit of value. I got questions about this in Holland. How do you guys do that album art every single time? He said, well, we don't. He says, we don't have listeners, bro. We've got producers. And then slowly it starts to dawn on people how it works. So we appreciate that, and we appreciate the work of all our artists.
Listen to the show.
Yeah, exactly. NoAgendaArtGenerator.com, and we also have a few executive and associate executive producers to thank, which we're going to do right now.
Yeah, and I also want to thank the Boston people, because we had a consolidated number that was in the last spreadsheet. I didn't put it in this one because it would make the numbers wrong.
Yeah.
But I want to thank the people from Boston, because there's a couple. One is an executive producer, and there's a couple of associates. I'm going to read the main list first, and I'm going to read the Boston list.
Oh, good. Because they said like $700 or something.
Yeah, it was $700.
Nice.
So, and we'll have to incorporate them into the specific list at the end.
Okay.
Sir Otaku starts us off at Duke of the Northeast Texas and the Red River Valley from Louisville, Texas. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, a favorite. Hey guys, I need some mac and cheese, Carmen, and LGY for a steak competition that I'm competing in today. A steak competition? What does that mean?
I have no idea. A steak? Maybe
they're having steaks and they're cooking them.
Cooking steak. All right, we'll do that.
Keeping up the great work, Sir Otaku, Duke of Northwest Texas in the Red River Valley. You slaves can get used to mac and cheese, cheap macaroni and cheap cheddar melted together.
Mac and cheese. Mac and cheese. Hey, everybody.
Yay! You've got karma.
William Messing, 334, from Bainbridge Island, Washington. ITM Genesis donation should make me a knight.
No.
Prior donations, and he's got a list. Please title me Sir William of Bainbridge Island.
All right.
Please add Oktoberfest beer and pretzels.
Yes. I ordered them this morning, and I saw the boxes come in, so they should already be here
for your roundtable. Yes, thank you very much, William. I'm looking forward to knighting you.
John Waldorf, 333.33 in Elk River, Minnesota nuts. Whooping with the Constitution to the head. This is his little list. Dvorak.org/NA, just because it's so damn catchy.
Yeah, we can't play that enough, can we? I understand.
F cancer from my best friend, wife Becky's cancer. Just F cancer. House karma because I'm closing on Friday. Goat karma because I'm a retired Navy chef.
Chief.
Oh.
Chief.
Oh, chief. I'm sorry. Retired Navy chief. Chef would be funnier.
Yeah, no kidding.
He's a retired Navy chief, and he wants goat karma. I don't get the connection personally, but maybe there's something I don't know about that.
The goat is the universal mascot of the United States Navy.
I didn't know this.
No, I don't know if it's true, but I think we should launch it.
First time donor, please de-douche me. Listen to this.
You've been de-douched.
He says, thanks for all you do, boys. I'm enjoying a newfound sanity. Please keep up the good work. I'd like to call out my brother Paul as a douchebag. Douchebag. He's a regular listener and loves it when people get called out.
I'm sure he
$5
does.
is $5. Chip in, slave. Justin Wardorf, Elk River 73s, KD0 VIX.
VJX. Yes, 73s, K5ACC. And I tried to get on the time. I mean, I made a couple calls out to the NAMS network, and no one replied. But we'd love to see you there, John. Go to K5ACC.com.
Now get out there and whoop Obama's behind. Whooping, 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 whooping what the Constitution. Whooping, 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 whooping the Constitution. Whooping, 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 whooping the Constitution. Whooping, whooping, whooping all of their behinds. Constitution. Whooping!
You've got karma.
Yeah, hadn't played that one in a long time.
On over there, buddy, Sir Cal of Lavender Blossoms, 333. Why do I have to listen to each show 3 to 4 times? You don't.
He does.
I suggest you do a show a day. Go ahead, run with it.
Sure.
Happy 12th anniversary, my friend Sir Cal, lavenderblossoms.org. Lavenderblossoms.org.
Thank you very much, Cal.
Operation.
Sir Cal is keeping our sanity in straight, in good whack with your CBD salves. It's good. Salves is very good. I travel with my salve.
Do you now?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't, if you've been sitting for, 10 hours, sometimes you just chafe a little bit. I don't need to tell you more, but Cal's salves at lavenderblossoms.org.
What?
It's already gone way too far, this conversation.
Sir Andrew Harms comes up. Sir Cal, we love you. Sir Andrew Harms comes up at $300. He'll be our last executive producer. Happy Veterans Day. Please offer a moment of silence and play Flowers of the Forest in honor of all the veterans we have lost. Sir Andrew Harms, KC0W11.
Flowers of the Forest?
WII.
Flowers of the
World War II is what it is.
Okay, well, we'll play it for just a second, and we will be quiet, because, of course, tomorrow is Tomorrow is Veterans Day, yes. So we'll play this just for a moment.
And, of course, Veterans Day was originally Armistice Day, 11/11 from 1918 when they signed off World War I.
Yes. Well, I have a lot of veterans in my family, so we do observe that on Mondays, on this Monday.
Jennifer Loveberg, 233.33.
No, you missed Black Knight Hereditarian.
Oh, why don't you read that while I go look up her note? I think she sent an email, I think.
Okay. Black Knight Hereditarian from Trabuco Canyon? Trabuco Canyon, California.
Trabuco Canyon.
Thanks for the show, guys. Can you please put my daughter Gracie on the birthday list? Of course, she's on. She has been exposed to the best podcast in the universe since she was about 10 years old. She now turns 23 and has a wonderfully normal-sized amygdala. This is my gift to her. Oh, no, I think that is my gift to her, yes. It's a great gift. It's the gift that keeps on giving. A normal-sized amygdala for your young human resource. Thank you very much, Black Knight Erididarian. She's on the list, of course, and we'll be congratulating her later. Jennifer Loveberg, 23333. You got a note?
Well, I got her thing here, but there's no note that I can find.
She may not have had a note, did she?
No, I see no note from her, so she's just going to be... If she has a note, she'll send us something. We'll read it, whatever it is.
Yeah, of course.
I thought she did send something that's kind of bothersome. Okay. All right, back to the regular list. Sir Ever of the Watt. Or, I'm sorry, Alex Gates. Let's do it to Alex, L-E-C-K-S Gates, 215. I figure it's time to pay back the value I get from the shows for keeping my sanity semi-weekly. It's my third time donating and about time for a de-douching.
You got it.
You've been de-douched.
Says no jingles, but jobs can't be nice as I get through my first gig in the government contracting IT space. I only have worked in the private sector until now, and this has certainly been an eye-opening experience. I'm sure it has.
You should, if you can. Boots on the ground reports, always welcome here.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs. You've got karma.
Sir Ever of the Watt and $210.98. I so miss Saudi Daisy having moved to this frozen wasteland of Michigan. By the way, there is a meetup group up there. You should join up with them, and you'll feel a lot better. You guys are great on both Thursdays.
What is Saudi Daisy again?
Town, and I forgot where it was. It was Mississippi or someplace. One of the southern states. Saudi Daisy, yeah. I remember it. He used to always be from Saudi Daisy. Colin Onufri?
Onufri, maybe Onufri?
Something like that.
Fort Lee, New Jersey,
Fort Lee, your old stomping grounds.
Right across the bridge. Yep, Fort Lee. That's
Fort Lee, New Jersey, $200.
MTV launched in Fort Lee.
Jingle request. China is asshole. You might die and little kid yay. Been a douchebag in the past year, but Tri-State meetup last weekend solidified my belief in the value for value model. Oh, that's nice.
Oh, cool.
Gonna get close here time-wise. Just health karma for everyone and house selling karma for my parents, 22-year-olds without degrees. Love, no agenda.
Wait a minute. This is our T-shirt. We finally have the slogan. 22-year-olds without a degree, love, no agenda. I love it.
China is asshole. You might die.
Yay! You've got karma.
That's right. And I bet you're doing just fine.
And last on the list, before I get to the Boston list, San Antonio and Madrid, Spain, or Sir Antonio, I'm sorry. Sir Antonio from Madrid, Spain.
Huh.
Madrid.
Yes.
Thank you for the long hours of infosainment. Jobs karma, please.
Hey, he should send us a little. Well, I guess boots on the ground is. It's not Barcelona, but maybe he has some.
No, yeah, it's not even anywhere near there. So.
No, I know, but still,
he might have some insight.
Yeah, if you got any boots on the ground. Well, thank you very much.
Barcelona asshole.
Thank you very much, Sir Antonio.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs. You've got karma.
Barcelona asshole. It's a universal theme. All right, now our Boston meetup thank you list.
Yeah, I got a couple here. There's one note that needs to be read. We have, let me just give you some thanks to some people that wrote checks. We do have the overall check is a $226 postal order. And what he did, and I think this is something people I could recommend to other meetup guys, he's collected, the guy who's headed up the meetup collects the money, grabs the checks, takes the cash and makes a postal money order and sends it all in an envelope to the box in 2339.
Right, but
very useful.
Okay.
It was $700. It's nothing to sneeze at.
So wait, so even though they had checks, he cashed the checks and then he created
No.
one
He
big
did
check?
not cash any checks. He sent the checks.
Oh, he sent the checks. Okay, but the cash.
He took the cash.
Ah, very smart.
And went to the post office and got a money order.
Thank you. That's going above and beyond, man. Thank you.
It's going way overboard, but I have to say it's great.
Yeah, that's highly appreciated. Thank you for that.
And he did have a little note. He wants a clip blitz sometime. Wants mac and cheese. I've got ants in the morning. This is a scribbled little card.
The ants thing, it's like 2 minutes. You know.
Yeah, don't play it. Play it at the end of the show. Oh, don't.
Well,
don't
I have all kinds of end of shows. We'll play it again eventually.
We'll get to it.
Promise.
Okay, this was Sir. I can't read this note because I'm sorry. Here's one note from George Morphus in Bellingham from the Boston meetup. Here's an exchange of value and such. And it's Blake. It says Gene. I don't know who it is. It's Gene. This got to be from Gene. And that's $100. We also have, we got both Gene and George, $100 each. Blake and Gene, $100 each. So they should be, we'll put them as the Blakes.
The Blakes. Okay. The Blakes.
Associate Executive Producer.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have a check for $333.33 from William Trent. So he'll be an executive producer. And he says, he has a note. I would like to request jobs and health karma, which we can do, with the following jingles. Mint tulips, that's wrong, and that's true. Well, that's interesting. Also, belated birthday to my daughter, Jamie. Okay, get your pen out.
Hold on a second. This is not the way to do this. I'm still looking up mint tulips, and now I got to get my pen out.
Yeah.
Are we going to do these jingles, or what are we going to do?
Well, I want to get this done first, the part about the birthday, so it doesn't get lost.
Okay, birthdays.
Jamie
Mm-hmm.
Shares the birthday with the best podcast in the universe. Coincidence? I think not. So this is...
from who to who?
This is from... Don't get antsy on me. I'm trying to read these things. There's a pile of notes. From William and Carol to Jamie.
Okay. I got it.
And then the jingles are mint tulips. That's wrong and that's true. I think we can do those.
Okay, mint tulips. That's wrong. Do we even have that one? Sure, we do somewhere. Yes,
that's
Peterson. Peterson. Okay, and that's true. And then that goes with what?
Oh, your little karma, I guess.
Oh, you're just guessing. You're not really taking orders. You're just guessing what the customers want. Okay.
They sitting out on the sidewalk sipping mint tulips.
That's wrong.
That's true.
You've got karma.
Okie dokie.
So that's an interesting combination because the that's wrong goes with the stupid comment, and
About
that's true goes with that's wrong.
I know, it's genius. It's genius, I tell you.
Okay, I want to thank the Boston meetup guys.
Wait, now the other guy wanted the clip blitz. Who was that?
Well, this is
Was that also from the
guy
meetup?
who put the meetup together.
Okay.
This is Sir something and Sir Whip-ass.
All right, I'll give him a clip blitz.
Red 33. Clip blitz.
There you go. He's got a clip blitz. See how I did that?
That's good enough for now.
Yeah.
I think that also the guy who puts all this together, which I have to thank profusely for pulling it off, getting the money over here.
Yes.
Maybe a typed note over giving us, rather than something to scribble on a little piece of paper that I can't read. It's probably preferable.
Okay, well, we're creating protocols. This is good. It's all new. This is new. These meetups and the meetups were new.
Yeah, people have been sending us money from the meetups, but it hasn't been organized. This is the most organized it's been.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's cool. And I think you're right. If it can just be a type note, so it's a little easier to read. But it's cool how this is working. Cool. I said it 3 times now. It's nice to see how this is working with the meetups. First, we're doing meetups. Then a producer created noagendameetups.com, which is, of course, fantastic. So much better than meetups.com.
Yeah.
And then, people were sending donations in regards to the meetups, but now it's being consolidated. This is really good. It's really appreciated. And, when you guys are doing a meetup, the meetup reports are fun. See if you can do something in audio, 30 seconds or less, like, hey, I'm this guy, I'm so-and-so, I'm Sir this, I'm Dame this. And we're here at the meetup, and then, sing a song or say, do a big in the morning or something. It's an audio show.
There will always be one guy at a meetup of more than 5 to 10 people.
Who's got the recorder, who knows how to do it.
Who's got a little recorder or an Apple iPhone and the thing called And Recorder. Look for And Recorder. It's a beautiful product.
Don't let the IRS hear you, because before you know it, they think that that's all we need for the show.
So an And Recorder, you can use that, and then everyone can be saying in the morning or something, and we can put that on and use it as a clip, and then that will.
That's cool.
And then you can get your plug-in for the organizer and get his plug himself. Yeah. And everybody knows they want to plug himself.
Yeah, so restricted to about a minute or so, which I think is possible.
30 seconds is a lot of time.
Well, if you see how much time it takes for me to read a meetup report, they're a lot longer than a minute. So yeah, between 30 seconds and a minute. But anyway, we're working this on the fly, and it's beautiful to see this. And thank you so much for not just the donation.
That's what we do. We're the ad-lib specialists.
It's also, we hate meetings. We like to do our meetings on the show, about the show. Speaking of which, Jennifer with the No Agenda Animated Studios. First of all, these things are hilarious. She has me cracking up about our own stuff. I'm not someone who cracks up typically listening to our own damn show, but somehow in combo with the video, she really nails it. I think. You saw the one with the sexual harassment. It's not harassment, it's a hot guy.
Yeah.
This is good stuff, man, with Eliza Schlesinger, and then all the Elizabeth Warrens pop up. It's good. And I think we're pretty. I think if we have double the amount we have now, we almost have a pilot.
Almost.
We just need. But I think the title of the show should be Crackpot and Buzzkill.
I think it should be Two Podcasters.
You think that's for commercial reasons? That's going to be better.
For commercial reasons, the podcasting thing is kind of a in term right now for some reason. I feel sorry for anyone who made the mistake of dreaming up the idea of netcasts. Kind of whoops,
a swing and a miss. Well, so okay, because I'm just thinking. Well, I guess
let's face it.
I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, but if anybody sells this thing, it's gonna just go off the rails, because it's gonna. Well, I don't know, two podcasters. You sure? What if you're gonna bring a third person in? It's gonna be, whatever we think is gonna be a good title will be ruined. I would recommend people look at the series episodes. And
okay, so what we need
pucks.
We need, and this will be interesting to do, because right now it starts and ends with the No Agenda jingle. I think this is maybe a Chris Wilson thing where we need a kind of, okay, now that you've said two podcasters, now we need something about basically we're two loser old white dudes. Well, here's a story about two old white dudes. Kind of like a Beverly Hillbillies type thing. This is a pitch meeting that I'm doing here with you. So
getting ahead.
I'm bouncing.
You might be moving a little too far.
Hey, I'm just shooting from the hip here. I'm bouncing ideas. I'm just riffing with you, John. I'm just riffing for the meeting here. Just riffing.
Well, I want to, before you continue your riffing, I want to thank these people for helping produce show 1189. Executive produce and associate executive produce this particular show.
CIS-Cast. There we go. Thank you, Troll Room.
Ooh.
CIS-Cast, the oldest white podcasters in existence. Well, I think we're very close. If we can get 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, I'm going to send it off to Super Agent Matthew Lesher. You can look him up. Super Agent Matthew Lesher, who does not know about this project yet, but
well, he will.
He will sell anything. He tried to sell me to Hollywood for 20 years and was unsuccessful. So I'm sure he won't. He still has a bio printed up, so that's easy. He just run the mimeograph some more.
All right, so let's close out the donation segment.
All right, I'm just having a good time with you in our meeting. Thank you very much to our executive producers and associate executive producers with the credits that are recognized everywhere in the entertainment business. and beyond. So it is a smart idea to put these into your LinkedIn profile. That's where people get people for jobs, by the way. LinkedIn. That is the way. And this is not a paid endorsement. It's just experience. And thank you. And we'll thank more people in our second donation segment. And remember that you can support the program in the same way with your own value by going to
Dvorak.org/NA.
And remember, we're the ones that told you that Barcelona is asshole.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
Order! Order!
Shut up, slave!
Shut up, slave!
So I have a clip that pretty much the whole family's watching this, and we all jump to our feet because we're all looking for gaffes.
Were you all together recently? You mentioned Mimi.
Yeah, everybody's here.
I didn't know. They say, is there a reason for it?
Mimi came down a week ago for her birthday, and we've been.
Oh, that's nice. Okay.
So, but everybody caught this. You see if you can catch it.
Mm-hmm.
I also have it ISO'd, but this is the report on impeachment that CBS ran on Saturday.
Hold on, I have a.
So it's a report on impeachment, gaffe, CBS.
Hold on. Yes, I got it here. Sorry.
Weijia Jiang starts us off from the White House.
We're going to Alabama. We're going to watch the Alabama game versus LSU.
President Trump continued attacking the impeachment inquiry as he took off for a college football game.
There shouldn't be anything. There shouldn't be impeachment hearings.
Today, House Republicans sent a letter to Adam Schiff, the chairman of the Intelligence Committee, requesting witnesses they want to call during public hearings that begin next week. Hunter Biden, the whistleblower, and anyone relied on by the whistleblower in drafting the complaint are on the list. Democrats can overrule any of the witnesses, which is why the GOP and the president call the process unfair.
It's a witch hunt, and it should never happen to another president.
In a statement, Schiff said his committee is evaluating the request, but warned this inquiry is not and will not serve, however, as a vehicle to undertake the same sham investigations into the Bidens or 2016 that the president pressed Ukraine to conduct. Investigators are trying to determine if Mr. Trump abused his power by pressuring Ukraine to investigate the Biden family. Behind closed doors, multiple witnesses have described a quid pro quo and said White House acting Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney played a significant role.
Can you describe the role that you played in pressuring Ukraine to investigate the Bidens?
None. I didn't have any. What was your question? What did I do to Ukraine or something? Nothing.
Yesterday, Mulvaney defied a subpoena to appear on Capitol Hill, following orders from White House lawyers who argue he has immunity. Mulvaney has asked to join a lawsuit that could decide if administration officials are protected from testifying.
Wow, I would be on my feet too. I'd be like dancing with Mimi. Just jumping around. That was good.
Here's the gaff. I got two versions of the gaff. One is the regular full version gaff, and then the short one, which I recommend for the end of the show, see if it works. But the first one is CBS gaff ISO.
White House lawyers who argue he has immunity.
Beautiful. What was the word?
She clearly says White House liars.
What was it supposed to be?
Lawyers.
Oh, lawyer.
White House lawyers who argue he has immunity. White House lawyers who argue he has immunity.
That's beautiful. He's the short one for end of show, right?
White House lawyers who.
I cut that. I cut that little thing.
No,
at the
you
end
didn't.
Off.
No, you didn't. Clearly, you didn't.
Well, clearly I didn't, but I remember clipping it, and I played
White House liar.
And it was gone.
Yeah.
Well, maybe the whole long one's better. It's only 2 seconds.
Let me see.
White House lawyers who argue he has immunity.
No, the short one is. I'll just cut it live. Oh, we'll do it live.
White House lawyers who.
We'll do it live. No worries. Good catch. That's a good. I love stuff like that. It's just the truth wants to come out, man.
Yeah, White House
liars. I had what did I have thought I had somewhere. I had something. No, I guess not. Yeah, that's pretty funny.
So I was digging around and I found this a very interesting old this show I watch a lot now. This Hoover Institution has this.
Oh yeah, this is where you got into Victor David Hanson by watching.
Yeah, I know this. I went back to 2010 to find this one. Huh. This is Daniel Hannan, who wrote The New Road to Serfdom, which was a kind of a bestseller back during the Obama administration.
I remember this.
We have to remember
Oops, sorry. I remember this. Wait. No, it was a misfire. I'm sorry.
We have to remember that all these complaints and all the stuff that we're bitching and moaning about and everything is not new. And it's not about Trump so much. And what we're complaining about is the difference between globalization and borders. We're not this podcast is not about no borders, no this, no capitalism. We're not that way. We're against the globalist move to turn everybody into individual slaves. And The New Road to Serfdom was kind of about this, and this was in 2010. But he talks a little bit about what was going on sociologically during the Obama administration. And I thought was kind of an interesting observation. He left one thing out, which I will bring up after we play this clip.
It's very rare to meet Americans who are appreciative of how extraordinary is the constitutional inheritance of this country, how successful the founders were in dispersing and democratizing power and constraining the state by doing that. What's happening now, it seems to me, the direction being pursued by this administration amounts to a comprehensive policy of Europeanization. European healthcare, European welfare, European climate targets, European disarmament. And if you make your country more like the rest of the world, less American, you will serve to make it less independent, less prosperous, less free. And that's our problem as well as yours. The world has benefited from a strong and engaged United States.
Segment 2, let's take a few of those topics you mentioned. Quoting again, the economy, the new road to serfdom. Quote, here is Europe's economic tragedy. It suffers no worse than the United States during recessions, but it fails to recover to the same extent during the intervening upswings. So why not? Why is there less dynamism in the European economy?
There has been an enormous amount of legislation, well-intentioned legislation, aimed at giving social protection to employees. And it's now reached the stage in a lot of countries where it just isn't worth your while to hire people, because once you've done that, you won't be able to get rid of them. You become very nervous about taking people on in the good times because you know that you won't be able to get them off your books if things go bad. And this has led to a measure of structural unemployment, which historically has been much higher than that in the US. It's striking that unemployment in this country has just reached European levels at the same time that your government has expanded, you've started regulating the private sector, telling people how much they're allowed to be paid and so on. There's a connection between those two things. In the short term, you can have the paternity leave, the vacations, but in the long term, the money runs out.
Anyway, it's an interesting book. People might want to look at it.
I remember I was looking for jingles or clips. I think we had something about that, but I couldn't find it, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, anyway, he talks about this idea, and I can kind of see it. We can all see it. We've talked about it on the show before, this idea of Europeanization. In other words, making America more like Europe. They do it, and they always point, look what they do in Sweden, look what they do over there. They're European this, European that. It's all better, and that's what, the Obama administration, that whole era was all about that. And which also brings in the EU and the globalizing and all the rest of it. But what he left out with his list, he has, healthcare and global warming standards and all the rest. He left out the one Europeanization or the one thing they want to do to the Americans to Europeanize us.
Yeah.
Soccer.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Europeanization.
Anyway, that was my punchline.
It was okay.
Well, it was just a point I make. I make this point about once a year.
Yeah, I know you do.
Jonesy, Dvorak, Baker, Light, Pride. Today's Teddy K. He's an OTG kind of guy.
Yeah, he's an OTG kind of guy. Forgotten about that one. Couple of OTG segments for you. There is stuff to discuss. There was and this is something that I have always wondered about, especially when traveling. I noticed that, and even in the U.S., even though we're both on T-Mobile networks, But even when when the Keeper was on Sprint before the integration, SMS text messages, which is all I do. I don't have any other apps. There's nothing else I can do. I certainly don't use iMessage. Been through that nightmare before where you can't get off of it, or people think they're sending something to you when you no longer have an iPhone. But text just not arriving. And it was always my understanding that SMS was kind of a guaranteed messaging service. I mean, my God, man, they charge 25 cents for it. Certainly if you're doing it overseas, maybe even more sometimes. And that was always my understanding, was guaranteed delivery of these messages. But I've seen them slipping up. And especially when you have a time zone difference, and you know, when the Keeper said to me, "Hey, I haven't heard from you all day. Everything okay?" I was like, you know, she didn't get a picture. I think there was some other. We have to compare them all next to each other. And this is mainly because there is a service that kind of sits in the middle as a router, very much the way email is handled.
Microservices architecture.
A weird blast from the past early yesterday for more than 168,000 Americans when they received a text on their phones originally written for them as far back as Valentine's Day. And this is really strange. Some had messages coming from friends or family who've actually passed on. Others received a text from ex-boyfriends, ex-girlfriends. And as I say, the worst scenario is getting a text from somebody who's died. The cyber guy is here. Kurt Knudsen joining us with more details. Now, Kurt, getting a text from a dead relative is really spooky. Who's responsible for this and what happened?
Yeah, a lot of people seeing this as a curse, David. And then for others, they think Cupid is striking again. A lot of mixed opinions, but a lot of people pouring out their emotionally charged response to this. These are called ghost texts. There were, as you said, 168,149 of them. The reason this happened is a company named Cineverse, located in Tampa, Florida, actually is the go-between third party between the wireless phone companies that we use. So if I sent you a message from AT&T, but you use something else like Verizon, they might use Cineverse to connect those messages and bring it to the next service. Well, apparently, right around Valentine's Day, as you had said, they got caught up in this glitch and just sat there suspended. And then recently in a maintenance update that they were doing on their systems, they started flowing through. But it doesn't say they were dated back then. It looks like they were just sent right now. So for someone that may be your ex that you don't like, and now it seems like they're saying, hey, I'm waiting outside with flowers, that's not really good.
So, I mean, obviously it's kind of funny that this took place.
This happened. This is a local story. JC had this happen to one of his coworkers who's overseas as we speak. And then a Valentine message came to his wife saying, hey, sweetie, I'll be seeing you at the same place. Let me know when you're here.
Okay.
And he's overseas. He's not at home. He's nowhere around. And so his wife gets this message. And she says, what's this all about? And starts grilling him.
Because she thought that, of course, he was texting some chick. Name? Oh, brother. Oh, my goodness.
The guy, he said, hey, wait a minute. And he's trying to show that he's trying to show his messages. He took screenshots of his phone. And
he's sweating. He's sweating. He's sweating.
So he's sweating for 24 hours because the next day that the story broke. And once the story broke.
Oh, thank goodness. Okay.
And it saved his marriage.
Wow. Yeah, that's that. Anyway, screw these guys. And I know we have lots of dudes named Ben, and well, actually we said dudes named them. So we have dudettes as well, who are in this business. So I'd like to know. Why is this failing? Is it really this company in the middle? And by the way, is this something the NSA talks to? I thought it was direct. In fact, I was even convinced that at some level, text messages were encrypted. I mean, I have no evidence for that, but I thought it was supposed to be encrypted, secure, and guaranteed.
I was under the impression, we talked about this at the dinner table with JC, who works in the business, and he was under the impression that SMS messages are sent and then deleted. And I've never believed that for a minute. And this is an example. They were obviously stored someplace. And why were they stored for so long?
Oh, well, yeah, because I think those are the requirements these days. The intelligence agencies mandate that all this. I mean, remember, we went through this. The phone companies had to store everything for 3 months, and it was 6 months, and it was 3 years. And we've been through this. No, they're not deleted at all.
And I'm also going to bring this up, which because of my MailChimp situation, which I'm worried about, which is mails. It's getting mostly going out, but there are people that claim they never get them. Then they look in all their boxes and they check for the spam, and they never find a copy of it.
So it's time for us, and I discussed this with the keeper last night, because she was like, I don't understand. John needs to use a different mail service. MailChimp isn't good enough. I said, this is not the issue. The issue is, for at least 15 years, and I know because when we were at Pod Show, so that's 10 years ago, 2005, we had a system, and you could request your lost password, and people were not receiving the password reset message. And we looked into it, and that's when we found very quickly that the big email service providers, Gmail, Yahoo, AOL, a couple other really big ones. Certainly, if you have it through Verizon, some people have their email address through their cell phone provider. They do not guarantee delivery of everything. In fact, to protect their customers, they send lots of stuff to spam, doesn't even see your account. But if your email is tagged by one of the approved companies, which you sometimes wind up paying $100,000 a year to, that's what Podshow wound up paying, $100,000 a year to I think it was Sequoia Company. It might have been Kleiner. I think it was Sequoia Capital Company. And that's all they do, is they have deals, and we've talked about this several times in the past. They have deals with the big email providers like Gmail, and if you go through them, which is very costly, depending on volume, of course, but they have their tiers, then it's guaranteed to arrive in the inbox. So it's logical that a MailChimp, a newsletter email service, pays that fee. But do they pay all the time? Do they pay for a certain level of service? Are they just getting screwed over?
Well, I believe there's also another element, which I discussed in that Twitter memo, which is that I think these guys are over, and I think this would apply to SMS. I think it would apply to MailChimp, and I'll explain the MailChimp situation.
I'm with you.
Is they may not just be able to handle this.
It's also possible that their mailers just, the servers are just overloaded.
Okay, we're at the limit. We can't send any more out.
Possible.
I mean, we're done. We're at the limit. We're sending out as much as we can. We're full.
It happens.
And the thing about MailChimp, which is kind of an indication of this, is that MailChimp uses a flat fee mechanism.
There you go.
So you have you pay $150 a month. We do.
Jeez.
To send a mail out. And it's dependent. You can send it out daily. I should be sending out a daily newsletter.
Yeah.
Because it's a flat fee. Now, other mailing services do it by mailing. You have to pay per mailing. And so it encourages MailChimp, and their flat fee encourages you to send 2-3 emails a day. I mean, that would burn. And I'm sure people are doing that because they can do it, because they can.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just pumping it out. And it would burden the servers. I don't know if these servers can handle that kind of a load, even though I'm sure they're running through all the systems out there that can handle these huge loads, supposedly.
Yeah.
But it costs money. I just think a lot of this is because the whole system is so text heavy that it just can't handle the load. SMS is probably a load problem. Everyone's texting. You see these kids are walking around. They're walking into the street. I almost ran some guy over the other day, walking right into this crosswalk. Never bothered to look to see if anyone was coming. Texting.
There's a lot of these big infrastructure issues. Another example, and this is why I'm so happy that we pretty much have our own deal going on. We've got our own servers that Void runs. Bemrose and Darren, all those guys, they're keeping all that running for us. We've got Mastodon, Aaroner runs that, so we have our own little infrastructure. But now Google is into podcasts. So Google has a web player. They've got some other, I don't know if they have an app for it or not. but the way they have their data system set up and caching, I'm not sure exactly how it works, but here's what happened on the last episode. And I remind you, it's 10 o'clock at night. I'm tired, and I spin off the show, which means, we've done our little edit at the beginning. I spin it off, and then it's an MP3, and then I upload it to our server. And I notice, oh, crap, it's uploaded, but it's the wrong file name. And I've learned in our system, it's better for me to delete the file and then upload one with the proper file name. However, somewhere, and I recommend people not do this, they know that my file naming structure, so they're just going to fill in the URL of what the MP3 will be. And until I've actually hit publish, until I've actually announced it on noagendasocial.com and on Twitter, people will sit there and refresh, and so they get like a half a file because I deleted it as it was still. We have our own little content delivery network, so as it's propagating out, as someone grabs it, that gets cached through some Google thing, and before you know it, people are getting half the podcast. And in order for me to really fix that, I have to create a new unique ID for the. I mean, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
It's a nightmare. All of you know what? The internet. It's a nightmare in general. It's just a nightmare. And it's all these big companies who came in and own everything, and everyone loves their Gmail. Well, good luck with that. In continuation with our OTG segment, I'll cut a couple here. This is the one that I think is interesting. As predicted and as forewarned, it is not a good idea to give your DNA to companies owned by Google's ex-wife and Larry Page's ex-wife or Sergey Brin, one of them, at 50% chance. It's not a good idea to give them to Ancestry.com. It's just not a good idea. Oh, no, it's anonymous and blah, 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 blah.
Ancestry website GEDmatch helped Orlando police solve a 2001 murder case by providing access to its DNA database. But earlier this year, police say the website changed its policy, blocking detectives. Detective Michael Fields felt the site could be useful in a new case, the New York Times reporting involving a serial rapist decades ago. So Fields' team wrote up the first ever search warrant for a genealogy site.
The judge took 24 hours to review it, and the judge eventually signed the search warrant.
July 14th, Judge Patricia Strourbridge approving it. The ruling getting national attention because of a potential ripple effect.
An attorney for law enforcement or a prosecutor who is trying to seek this sort of information could say, look at the reasoning used by this Judge Strourbridge in the Ninth Judicial Circuit of Florida in Orange County, and we're asking you to apply the same reasoning and allowing us access to this information in our case.
Popular sites Ancestry.com and 23andMe sounding off, sending the news station statements that read in part, Ancestry believes that GEDmatch could have done more to protect the privacy of its users by pushing back on the warrant or even challenging it in court. Their failure to do so is highly irresponsible and deeply concerning to all of us here at Ancestry. It certainly troubles us here at 23andMe, perhaps just as disturbing as GEDmatch's apparent lack of scrutiny and challenge of the validity of the warrant issued.
Did you hear that? Did you hear the very end?
No.
As disturbing as GEDmatch's apparent lack of scrutiny and challenge of the validity.
Scrutiny. You can't say scrutiny. Scrutiny.
Oh, I missed it.
Scrutiny. Perhaps just as disturbing as GEDmatch's apparent lack of scrutiny and challenge of the
scrutiny.
Scrutiny.
I'm hearing this tea happening now with Clinton. It's Hillary Clinton. Clinton. It's Clinton. I mean, and by the way, we're falling over this. This is not just one word that's changing. This is the entire structure of parts of the English language. Scrutiny. How do you write that? Screwini? Is it screwini? That's a show title.
Screwini.
Final point is about
Come on, buddy. So you can say scrutiny
no, you
or
can't.
Scrutiny. Not scrutiny.
Final thing that someone sent me No, actually, I found this through I've been looking at a lot of blogs about microgrids. I'm very interested now, obviously, as it pertains to the fires and, what is really true? What are they really trying to do? Is there an end game? What is the goal? And I'm really leaning towards this idea of let's get some microgrids. Our grid is old and decrepit and we haven't kept it up and we really want to do something new. But there's an extra data point that I did not realize. And that is, and this may be the problem with what's going on in California. I mean, when fire ignites from the grid, some of that, yes, maybe a power line that actually breaks. I've seen it. Power line breaks, it shorts out on some wood, and it can catch fire pretty easily. It's happened to me in New Jersey. It does happen. But when you have transformers frying out, and I learned that California has what is called here as America's 400-ton electric albatross. They have these Chinese transformers that are apparently, in many cases, inferior. 200 Chinese transformers have come into the U.S. energy sector in the last 10 years. And these are the big boys. These are the big transformers. And 345 kilovolts. What if? Because before all this really started, we've always heard our grid's no good. We've got to upgrade. There's a lot of chatter about how we've got to upgrade the grid. Is it possible? Yeah. Is it possible that our grid is filled with cheap ass Chinese junk that is just burning up and burning stuff down?
Yeah.
This is not discussed.
No, well, it's now being discussed by you.
And apparently, Pacific Gas and Electric has quite a few. China has shipped a 900 megavolt ampere transformer to the United States. This article, this is 2004. Amps. Made by the Tibian Electric Shenyang Transformer Group, used for connecting the California power grid and the hydropower grid in Los Angeles. I mean, I had no idea that we are using Chinese transformers. This could be a big part of the issue and why they want
to. They're about 1/2 the price of whatever General Electric. I don't know who makes the big transformers anymore. If anyone, maybe nobody makes them.
Yeah, no,
a lot of companies. I remember when
ABB. ABB is the big one.
Cummins Diesel was on the air going on about how they're using all these engine blocks from China, and the woman spokesperson for the company, a very famous motor maker, says, "Oh, nobody can do these. You can't mold these things here in this country." And I did some research. You remember this was on the show a couple years ago. There's a ton of companies that could do them, but no, they're just bringing in these ones from China because it makes their bottom line work a little better, and the profitability goes up a bit because they're using cheap components. And I suppose that's what's going on here.
Tibian Electric, this is the Chinese company, beat out several big international rivals, including South Korea's Hyundai, Japan's Mitsubishi, and Switzerland's ABB to win the deal. So they're underbidding with cheap Chinese crap.
This is the problem with the bidding model.
Well, of course, it always goes to the lowest bid, but this is not competitive. I mean, we have no proof, but I would say, hey, this needs to be discussed. I want to know, is there Chinese crap that's burning up California? Is that part of it?
Well, I'm sure a lot of these insulators, like the one that went off and started this last fire up on one of the transmission poles, those insulators, I wouldn't be surprised if most of them were made in China too.
Yeah, you're right. And then
China can make a lot. They can crank.
Yeah.
They always could. That's one of the things
China
they can do.
Crank. That's right.
They can crank.
Meanwhile, according to Quirash, a pro-ISIS media outlet, whatever that is.
What is that?
I don't know.
What CIA front is this?
Exactly. Well, listen to the headline. ISIS urges followers to ignite fires in forests across the U.S. and Europe. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's what we need. Yeah. Oh, it's ISIS. Don't worry about ISIS in America, everybody. They're back. No. We're not going to fall for that. I call for an investigation on this China stuff.
Yeah, well, you're not going to get one because we have better things to do. We have more important things to do than look into things like that. We have to impeach Trump.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda in the morning.
Well, we have some few people to thank for 1189, show 1189. Helped us get this show off the ground, starting with Robert Blankshane, $150. And he says, what is he saying here? I'm making a donation for emergency jobs karma for my mother. Okay, well, we can do that.
Yeah, well, of course we can do that.
Any help would be much appreciated. I don't know why he's coming at 150. Okay.
Well, no. He sent a very specific note. He said, "Look, I can't afford 200 to guarantee the note is read." He said, "Could you please read this because my mom." Was there anything else as a part of that?
Yes, the business is going under.
Let me just read it. I'm making this donation for an emergency jobs karma for my mom, the most powerful one you've got. Well, that's the original. I understand you usually do not read notes under $200, nor am I necessarily looking for you both to do so. I just received troubling news from my mother in regards to her business, so I decided to turn to my No Agenda community for support in such dire times. Any help will be appreciated. A loving son, Robert Blankshane. Oh, I'm going to do it now then.
Jobs,
what the hell?
Jobs, jobs, and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
You can't disregard a plea like that. Can't disregard that.
No. Kyle Blank's next. He says $150, same thing. He says, so Alabama lost to Louisiana State. Got to donate to No Agenda after that fun win.
Okay.
So any of you people that win a football game, donate to the show. That was a fabulous game. Sam Godwin, that's where Trump went to that game and got a big round of applause instead of the booing he got when he went to the baseball game in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
Sam Godwin, $111.11.
Now, I believe Sam does he become a knight or does he get an upgrade today?
He says he's a knight in waiting.
Yeah, well, he says he says he becomes a knight. I have him on the list here today, so I guess.
Oh, no, he's waiting right now to be knighted later in the show.
There you go. And he says,
shout out to all veterans, free medical assistance.
Anything you need all day at, what is this? Medici MD on 1111. Gee, I wish you weren't so cryptic. God bless our veterans and the best podcast in the universe, Sir Slam Bob, Knight in Waiting. Yes, you will be officially titled Sir Slam Bob, Slam Bob in just moments from now.
Yeah, get it. Christopher Reamer, $111.11. These are the three people that donated for the Veterans Day.
All three.
Jeffrey Steckroth, and he needs some jobs karma. We'll put that at the end for him. Rob Van Dyke, $100. Sir Baker, $100. Matt Bolke in Minnetonka, Minnesota, $100. Dave the Deer Slayer, 8008.
Thank you.
You guys rock, he says. Nick Barnes, $75.75. James Woodhouse, $75. Crystal
Friedemann?
Friedemann, yeah, I guess it's just Friedemann, $69.69 in Santa Monica.
Well, and celebrating 10 years of Turbo Boom to Sir Burley Ames. Thank you for all that sweet, sweet lovin' from your Queen Turbo. Aw, in honor of our great partnership. Oh, that's so nice, Crystal.
Matthew Mungan, $69. Brian Pearson, 66.66. Sir Loudpipes, 55.10, double nickels on the dime. Michael Madaloni, $50.08 in Appleton, Wisconsin. Brian Mosier in Duncan, Oklahoma, $50.01. The following people are $50 donators. Name and location, starting with Drew Mochek over here in El Cerrito, California. Andrew Klaus, Roy Tenhava in Pinehawker.
Very good.
50. Robert Decanay in Fairfax, Virginia. John Groomling, 50. William Dolge, I'm not sure. Dolgae in Bristolville, Ohio. Tony Smith, in Fort Worth, Texas, just down the street from you. And last but not least, Larry Hay in Mooresville, North Carolina. I want to thank all these folks for producing show 1189 and keeping us going.
Yes, and thank you to everyone who came in under that $50 threshold, which we keep in there for reasons of anonymity, which people often take. In fact, 1, 2, 3, 4 today. People do take advantage of that. We want to thank them and the 33s and the, I see some 15s, 12s, 11s, some 10s, some 5s. These things give us a base that does help us, especially when newsletters fail. So that's appreciated. Also, everybody who donated specifically because of the newsletter fail. That is also really appreciated. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm sure everyone else who is a producer of the best podcast in the universe thanks you as well, because that's how it works, our value for value concept. And we will be here all week, but certainly on Thursday if you'd like to help us out.
Dvorak.org/NA.
By request.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
It's a birthday.
And today is the 10th of November, 2019. We have a very short birthday list, but we do have William Black Knight Era Dadarian, who says happy birthday to his daughter Gracie. Remember, she is turning 23 today, and her amygdala is very healthy. And from William and Carol, they say happy birthday to Jamie, who shares a birthday with the best podcast in the universe. And for that, we say happy birthday from everybody here at the best podcast in the universe. Oh, we don't have title changes today. That was my mistake. Oh no, we've got two nightings. So I need your blade.
Okay, here we go.
Beautiful. William Messing and Sam Goodwin. Gentlemen, step up here on the podium next to the round table. This is where you want to be. It's where you deserve to be, thanks to your support of the No Agenda Show in the amount of $1,000 or more. I am very proud to pronounce-icate thee, Sir William of Bainbridge Island and Sir Slambob. Gentlemen, for you, we have Hookers and Blow, Rent Boys and Chardonnay, Oktoberfest beer and pretzels, cookies and vodka, cross ships and cane breaks, Pog and Poi, Captain Morgans and women with questionable reputation, harlots and howdolls, cowgirls and coffin varnish, Rubenesque women and rosé, geishas and sake, vodka and vanilla, bong hits and bourbon, sparkling cider and escort, ginger ale and gerbils, and of course mutton and mead. Head over to noagendanation.com/rings, and all we need to have is your mailing address and your ring size, and Eric the Shill will get that to you as soon as possible. And thank you for supporting the No Agenda Show, the best podcast in the universe.
No Agenda Meetup.
It is just like a party, and you can come to the party in Austin on this Thursday. That'll be the local 512 meetup at 7:30, and that is going to be held by Sir Scott Baronet of the No Agenda Armory and his lovely wife Christine at Doc's Backyard in Sunset Valley, the second official organized Thursday local 512. Excuse me. Also on Thursday, Michigan Local 1 Pizza Run at 6:30, and that'll be at Spicy Slices. Yusuf Hagazi is your host. Then Friday, Wichita's Cowtown Hoedown Meetup number 1. So this is a new one, 6 o'clock. And you will want to go to the Wichita Brewing Company and look for dude named Clem and Darren, the Navigator. Also on Saturday, on Saturday the 16th, Cincinnati, Ohio, local meetup at 3 o'clock. Note these times, please. And this will be at the Fretboard Brewing Company for an afternoon of merriment with Baron Foxbat of the Cook Islands. Look for the man with the incredible tan. Friday the 22nd, jumping ahead, I guess that'll be the Netherlands meetup in The Hague at 6 o'clock at the Fiddler Den Haag. It's in the heart of the city, a 5-minute walk from the seat of the government. And on Saturday the 23rd, Kamloops, BC in Scandinavia, 6 o'clock. Meet at the Noble Pig and ask for Michael Monroe. And that is a current overview of your No Agenda meetups. To find exactly what's going on near you, go to noagendameetups.com. If you can't find anything, make your own. It's easy. Everything there on the site will help you do it, including the Adam and John cutout heads for you to put us on sticks. Ice cream sticks work fine. Twigs, we'll take anything. Pencils seem to work as well. NoAgendaMeetups.com. Thank you, everybody. It's great for your amygdala, and we love it too. I was reading, just as it pertains to our model versus the rest of the universe, the correspondent, which I supported them early on. This that Dutch outfit, who then were going to launch in America, and they raised $1 million, and they they were kind of full of shit, because they didn't really open a New York office. But someone sent me an article from their English version, and it's about online advertising, and the guy who was talked about the most here he's some famous statistician. Well, anyway, I'm putting this in the show notes, and I want people to take a look at this. It's called The New .com Bubble is Here. It's called Online Advertising. And what he shows and what he's done with proof at eBay specifically is he has shown that all advertising on the internet, when it comes to you clicking on something, so I'm not talking about maybe a brand ad that may roll somewhere that can put an idea into your head, but he specifically took eBay, who were paying for links on Google search. And the way they kind of calculated it, well, it cost us $20 million in ads, but look at how much came in, $245 million in revenue. But they actually did a test and stopped. And they're because when you search for eBay, just eBay, a lot of people do this. I think that's the bulk of Google's business is people typing eBay into the search bar, not ebay.com, just eBay, and then it comes up in Google and you click the link eBay and you go there. I mean, people do this. I see them do it all the time. So when you click on the top two links, when you search for eBay, it's a paid link, and Google gets paid for that click. When they stopped advertising, their link still showed up at the top, except they weren't paying for it. So you do the numbers, and in every single case, whether it's Facebook, Google, or Instagram, these are the cases that they highlighted, every single campaign was unprofitable because you still have to pay for the ad. So every campaign, when they advertised on Google versus not, when your link still shows up at the top, they were actually losing money across the board.
Well, a couple of things. One, when the .com collapse happened, the internet advertising bubble also collapsed. There was an internet advertising bubble in the year 2000.
Yes.
And you could see it. Everybody started bailing out from all these ads, and banner ads died and all the rest of it. So that's not a new thing that this was going to happen. It's more of a cycle to me than it is a bubble. But even though looks like a bubble and probably should collapse. As for these, I've never fully understood why when you type eBay, let's say, or anything else, you'll see a sponsored ad, which is the link at the top, and then 3 searches down when the links where the advertising ends, 3 links down or so. There it is again.
Yes.
And I always click on that one.
Right. Well, you're not. Yeah. Yes, exactly right. You're paying on you're clicking on the one that Google doesn't get paid for.
Yeah, I don't see why I should be clicking on something when the search engine itself will give this to me a couple down. Exactly. I mean, there's no reason for it.
Exactly. Well, he's a statistician, and it's a very interesting read. It's very thorough. It's not a short read.
I want to read that.
It's not a short read. Yeah, in fact, I've just repurposed it in the show notes. You'll find it right there at the top, Internet Advertising Bubble, and the stories underneath that link. So that's just really interesting. And I read it this morning. I said, wow, this, it confirms everything we kind of knew. And in advertising in general, it starts off with the famous quote of Mel Karmazin, who was, running, what was he running at the time? Mel Karmazin, was he running Viacom in 2003? He walked into the Google offices in Mountain View, California, to find out, how these Larry Page and Bryn Sergey and whatever, the Russian guys, Sergey and Larry, how they were doing this, and his, as they were saying, our business is highly measurable. We know exactly where. This is 2003 talk, obviously. And Karmazin said, his famous quote was, "You guys are fucking with magic," which is totally true, because that advertising actual results of advertising is kind of magical because no one can explain if it works, or the other famous quote, I know half of my advertising money is working, I just don't know which half. So it's a great article to read. I think you'll like it. I think you'll like it a lot.
Yes, it's the vape wars on the vape, e-cigarette.
Yow, 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 the vape wars. Well, it only took them about 2 months, but your No Agenda show knew it already.
Federal health officials have made a breakthrough in their investigation into the lung illnesses and deaths linked to vaping. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention found vitamin E acetate in all 29 samples of lung fluid taken from patients. It is the first time the CDC has found a common suspect in patients' lungs damaged by vaping. When heated and inhaled, vitamin E acetate is thought to cause a chemical burn injury in the lungs. But the CDC says more tests still need to be done.
We have to better understand the pathology of how the vitamin E that gets into the lungs and causes the damage to the lungs occur.
Vitamin C acetate is often used as a thickener in black market vaping fluid containing THC, the active ingredient in marijuana. But just 23 of the 29 tested positive for THC. At least 2,000 illnesses and 40 deaths have been linked to vaping.
Of course, these were all attributed to Juul and, oh my God, kids, and we can't have them vaping sweet liquids. You're marketing towards kids.
This is a problem with the No Agenda show. We're watching this news report, pretty much the one you just played last night, and I'm thinking, vitamin E acetate. Why is this is news? As far as I'm concerned, we talked about this, and I thought it was already discussed in the mainstream media.
No,
2-3 weeks ago.
No. But
now I realize this only was discussed on our show, apparently.
Yes,
and which is giving me trouble with watching some of the news because I'm watching this thinking, this isn't news.
Yeah.
We all knew that vitamin E acetate was the culprit here. They did mention that as a thickener or a viscosity.
Right. But also that it was purely in the THC cartridges. And our research, we went directly to the source. I went to Justin the drug dealer, which any news outfit could have done. But no, they're not.
No, they don't do that.
They're not, because they're all complicit in ruining the vaping industry so that Philip Morris and what's that other company, their fake name?
American. It used to be American Tobacco.
Who bought Juul just to kill the vaping industry. They want to bring in their heated tobacco. And there's an additional reason. You were talking earlier about Michael Bloomberg and all the anti-Juul ads that his name is on it. And yes. I would like to know, does Michael Bloomberg, I'm sure he does, but I wonder what kind of position he has in tobacco stocks. I wonder if he has any position in that. California, in particular, has a huge problem with people stopping smoking. I know this sounds weird, but they have a huge problem with people stopping smoking and moving to vaporized nicotine inhalation, which I do, and I don't smoke tobacco anymore. And I've not died yet because I'm not falling for the stupid. I did my own research, and I went to the drug dealers, and I got the true story, and here it is being confirmed. This is from a YouTube channel called Truth About Vaping. Now, this is almost 5 years old, this little piece of the clip that I'm pulling for you, so it's a little oversimplified. It's one of these animated things. But specifically in California, but also in other states, there's a big reason why the states themselves do not want tobacco companies selling less tobacco products, because you don't get a very specific benefit as a state when it comes to nicotine.
Problem number one. The more money Big Tobacco makes, the more money California gets. In 1998, a deal was struck between the biggest Big Tobacco companies and 46 U.S. states called the Master Settlement Agreement, or MSA. This agreement said that these Big Tobacco companies would make yearly payments to the states in exchange for the states dropping lawsuits against them regarding smoking-related deaths and expenses. The amount of money Big Tobacco pays the states each year is directly dependent on how much they sell. Problem number two. The states spent that money before they got it. Most of the states wanted all that money up front, instead of waiting for payments from Big Tobacco each year. So they sold bonds to Wall Street based on the amount they calculated Big Tobacco would be paying them. But then something started happening. Americans started smoking less. New Jersey, Ohio, and Virginia have already announced they have to take money from their reserves due to insufficient funds from the tobacco money. And with the growing popularity of e-cigarettes, the smoking rate is declining even faster. California and New York are being affected the most because they have the highest populations and are owed the most money by Big Tobacco under this agreement. In 2013, cigarette shipments saw their biggest decline since 2009, and many financial analysts say the cause of that severe decline is e-cigarettes. So the truth? The state of California needs tobacco sales to stay high, otherwise they default on their bonds. E-cigarettes are getting in the way of that. It looks like the health of the public isn't the top priority for the Department of Public Health. Their top priority? Their wallet.
I mean, obviously, it's a propaganda pro-vaping video, but the data is irrefutable. And I don't know how much money this is. I'm sure we can figure this out, but this master settlement agreement was a big deal.
Well, you can look that up and find out, because I'm sure it's a lot.
Yeah. And so everyone's against people actually stopping smoking tobacco. And so they're all jitty about this IQOS thing.
All this money.
Yeah, it's all about, hey, lung schmung.
Lung schmung, cancer schmancer.
Yeah, I mean, what's your problem, lung schmung? Get out of here. This is great.
Wow. Yeah. Well, that was a nice find. But, of course, none of it should be surprising.
Well, no.
And states like California and New York are probably the max corrupt states.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
You know, it's like, yeah. Mm-hmm. I was listening to one of the financial shows, and they were discussing, you know, Trump's taking his residency to Florida, where there's no personal income tax.
Right.
But New York State, and California does the same thing. New York State, okay, you can say you're a Florida resident, but if you're doing any business here and you've been established here in the past, they're going to go after you anyway.
Yep.
It would take them probably 5-6 years. I know a guy who did this. I know a couple of people actually that they've decided they're sick of paying California personal income tax, which is pretty high. It's like 10% or higher. And they moved to just go across the border. You moved to Nevada. There's no personal income tax in Nevada, and you can go back and forth. But they dog them, you know. Let's see, how many days you've been coming across? Are you doing any business here? You're making a phone call into the state? Are you pinging one of our towers?
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that. I had an LLC 10 years ago in California, I think Zulu Apps, and it was dormant, and I closed it, and it never. No money ever ran through it. This year, I got the California Tax Board sent me a bill for over $1,000 saying I owe them tax. And now I have to go fight these jamokes. What do you mean, no?
I can tell you right now, you're going to lose out. You have to pay.
Yeah, but what?
This happened to us.
But what am I going to do?
We had an employee once, and it was years ago, and then all of a sudden the IRS, just out of the blue, they ding us for some back, Social Security.
John, this is for 2018.
This is, it's ridiculous.
But I haven't lived there in almost 10 years. The company, I mean, what do you mean I'm going to have to pay?
You can just say, screw it, you don't want to pay, but we were advised that we should just pay.
Holy crap.
It's an extortion racket.
That's crazy.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
Well, I mean, there's got to be some legal way to stop this.
Yeah, it's going to cost you more in legal fees than paying.
You're kidding. So they're just looking at my federal tax return, I guess, somehow, and saying, oh, well, a piece of that's got to be ours.
Yeah, probably.
Well, die, California, die.
No, it's really a problem. But all these big states, New York's probably worse, because especially New York City, because in New York you have a state income tax, and in New York City you have a city income tax.
I know, it's nuts.
Why does anybody put up with this?
Yeah. Sir Bemrose just said perfectly, let this be a lesson. Never live in California. Yeah, I agree. I can't believe that you of all people who knows how to fight the system on these kinds of things is actually telling me to give up.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Give up.
It's $1,000, a lot of money.
I'm just telling you, I know when to give up. But maybe you can fight. I mean, why don't you write a protest letter? At least write a letter and see if you can get it straightened out. But if you're going to bring otherwise you're going to, well, we don't say it that way. Or give him a call and be nice. Be charming. So I have a clip. This is the kind of clip that mainstream media. The reason I listen to Democracy Now! Is because occasionally they have a gem. And this is a very short clip. They usually go on and really length with some of this stuff, but this is a little short clip. I just got the biggest kick out of this because they had a video to go along with it. And I'll explain the video after we play this clip. This is the Glenn Greenwald clip.
Meanwhile, a far-right Brazilian journalist tried to punch Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist, co-founder of The Intercept, Glenn Greenwald, after a heated argument during the live taping of a radio show. The far-right journalist, Augusto Nunes, had previously made insulting comments about Greenwald's family.
All right.
Okay.
So they had the video clip of these guys talking this talk show, Greenwald. Now I want you to do the following kind of. This is kind of like doing a play, like a.
Ooh, acting.
Yeah, a little acting here. So what you do? You're facing somebody. So you turn your head completely.
I got to get into my character.
You're facing somebody. You turn your head completely to the left as far as you can, and put your hands about a foot in front of your face, and then make a dog paddling motion as fast as you can.
That's what he was doing?
This is kind of the fight that broke out between these two guys.
Was this a hissy fight? What was this?
It's kind of what it looked like.
Oh my goodness!
But, the guy did take a kind of a swing at him, and it was ludicrous. I don't get it.
And what did Glenn Greenwald don't have to? Did he fight back? Did he?
No, he's ducking. He's doing the dog paddle thing. So
wait, Glenn Greenwald was doing the dog paddle?
Yeah, pretty much.
I gotta see this clip. Oh, yeah, he's
just not as comedic as I make it sound, but it is pretty funny.
No, I think those things are always funny to watch, especially on a radio show. That makes it even better.
Well, I don't know what the camera was doing on the radio show, but it's one of those things where everyone had, like everybody has to have a camera on them all the time.
That is
something we don't do.
That came up on the 100-year celebration of radio. Especially all the new morning shows, all have to have a webcam. Gotta have a cam so you can see what's going on in the studio. It's so cool. No, it's the opposite of cool. We're cool.
It's totally the opposite of cool.
Here on the CIS-Cast, no cams on the CIS-Cast.
No CIS-Cast cams.
No way.
Be a CIS-Cam.
All right, you want to roll us out with one last one? We'll do some end of show mixes and get out of here.
Yeah, well, we can do. Let's see. I got a little Mark Meadows clip. Is pretty funny. Human Rights Watch. Oh, yeah, this is good. Human Rights Watch was kicked out of Israel, which is pretty funny in itself.
Cable TV insisting there's nothing to see here.
Hold on, we have Mark Meadows right here. Congressman Meadows, can we talk live?
You got the wrong clip.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's
a funny clip. We played the Mark Meadows clip. Mark, I'll have to set it up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I see what I did wrong here. Yes. Well, do you want to hear this one or the human rights?
Well, let's do the Mark Meadows, but I have to set it up.
Okay, sorry.
This woman's doing an interview, or she's a stand-up doing a local presentation, and she's yakking away. And she says, and Mark, she tries to put the mic, and he just goes by her like a mile a minute. And then she pulls the mic back, and then she says something disparaging in a kind of a funny way. He comes running back.
But who is Mark Meadows?
Mark Meadows is just a congressman that's part of one of the judicial committees. One of these guys. He's a Republican.
Okay. I got you. All right, let's see.
On cable TV insisting there's nothing to see here.
Hold on, we have Mark Meadows right here. Congressman Meadows, can we talk live? So he's walking by right now. But Republicans are really struggling to defend the president. Okay, great.
Not struggling on anything.
Okay, so Congressman.
So the Republicans are not struggling on anything.
Mayor Bruce live from the Hill tonight in Mary. Republicans say they're not struggling, but tonight the White House is beefing up its team to handle the impeachment inquiry?
Well, David, the White House may be dismissing these hearings, but they also know that they need a better strategy to push back against them. So the White House is adding 2 people to their team who the president personally knows and trusts to defend him. It's something that Republicans here on the Hill have been asking for.
Okay. Now let's do the Human Rights Watch then. Let's use that
Human Rights Watch, which we know is a front.
Yes.
they push their luck once in a while. They get kicked out every so often, and here we go.
The Israeli Supreme Court has ruled the government has the right to expel the head of Human Rights Watch's Israel and Palestine office. Omar Shakir is a U.S. citizen. Israel's accused him of supporting the nonviolent boycotts, divestment, and sanctions movement known as BDS, which aims to pressure Israel over its treatment of Palestinians. A 2017 Israeli law that bans foreigners from Israel if they publicly support the BDS movement.
Yeah, well, doesn't surprise me.
Why is Israel the bad guy for kicking people out that aren't Israelis?
Because it's Human Rights Watch, John. Can't you tell from their name that they're good people?
They have a nice logo.
Exactly.
All right,
No, that's good. No, that's good. That's good. For the end of show mixes, thanks to Cyborg Dave, Danny Luce, and Tom Starkweather. 3 great mixes coming up for you. That's always appreciated. And of course, we will return on Thursday, the second Sunday show of the week. We'll do it all again for you. There will be tons to discuss, I'm sure. There always is. And I'll have caught up on all of my Gitmo deconstruction. Lots of backlogs in the emails. And, of course, thank you all for sending what you have so far. And remember us for supporting the program. It is, after all, your podcast, your duty. Go to Dvorak.org/NA. And waving to the new neighbors here in Opportunity Zone 33 of Austin, Texas, capital of the Drone Star State, FEMA Region number 6, and all the governmental maps in the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where I'm looking up on the wall and I see a list of things we were supposed to talk about and did not. So we'll talk about them on Thursday. I'm John C. Dvorak.
Coming up on NoAgendaStream.com, the grumpy old Bens. Until next time, adios, mofos! And Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself.
Just don't get one at all. And Epstein didn't kill himself. I now have realized that that's right.
I just built that munch through brush. I just.
She was starting to shapeshift. What was that?
Attack on them from the right and the Russians and all their allies. So then we get rid of the electoral college.
Uses IQs in a single digit. Monkey hard bell, monkey hard. Because of the killing of al-Baghdadi, responsibility.
President Trump privately pushed for shooting migrants.
Stupid and uneducated.
Stocked with snakes or alligators. Yes. And building an electrified border wall topped with spikes to pierce human flesh.
Starting to shapeshift? What was that?
Attack on them from the right and the Russians and all their allies. So then we get rid of the electoral college.
Kill himself.
Underway in northern Idlib province that's near the Turkish cannot confirm that
killing of al-Baghdadi,
on the dark web and nobody can find them.
And the better place. So I've gone through our show. It shows me as being stupid and uneducated, and now have realized that that's right.
Joe Biden pushed for him to be outed. It had nothing to do with his son, and everyone that's looked at it has confirmed that.
Yeah.
Brought into Burisma, that Ukrainian company that was facing the corruption charges, to help with its transparency and corporate responsibility.
Goats that munch through brush
on the migrants. Water-filled trench.
Austin people of the Piscataway tribe. People in San Francisco Bay are having to wear masks. But they're opening their homes.
Wait a minute.
Up with snakes or alligators.
Through brush on the traditional land.
Don't clip this for the cartoon. Betsy was her name. I researched her because I was saying I saw a picture of her. Here's what I thought: 2 weather balloons and a halter top.
Right.
This is what she does, and she does a great job of it. I think she's one of the best of them. She'll eventually be really big.
This is everybody's favorite money, honey.
Betsy.
An observation is that you're creeping on Betsy there.
Yeah, well, it's one of those trade secrets.
Yeah.
People out there want to know about marketing. This is what marketing's about.
Action.
I'm old enough that I've been to burlesque shows, the classic.
I've been to a burlesque show or two.
And they used to have these women who would come out with these topless, and not bottomless usually, but topless, with these tassels hanging off their nipples. And they would get them spinning through a jumping jack-like exercise. They get them going. I think this would be fun to watch. The tassels were a hilarious touch. And they do it like on cue, and it was like, wow, you'd say to yourself.
Wow.
Now that's what I call talent.
You're all jitty about it.
I'm all jacked up about it.
17 seconds of standing ovation, so I cut it down.
Thank you.
But people were going nuts. They're just, oh my God, there they are! This is real!
Everything that he says negative about other things or other people is what he's saying about himself.
They are worthy and applaud.
No, I have empathy towards animals. Just, ants, I don't know.
Ants.
But I think he sees right now that he has to jump in because he has to jump in.
Which is horrible for this country. Even if people are working, we don't want to have a country like that.
They were obviously triggered. I don't think they like me much anymore.
And I hear you knocking them dead. You're all over the place. That's good. It's the way it's supposed to work, right?
Angst among people, Leon Cooperman and Jamie Dimon and Bill Gates, thinking that the hordes are coming for their money.
Well, you've been covering this literally minute by minute outside of the skiff, and the change in narrative from Schiff has been amazing.
We're going to make it a chance that you take, but it's not a chance because you know exactly what's happening.
The best podcast in the universe.
Adios, mofo.
Dvorak.org/NA.
White House liars.